Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the show today. Very happy to have you all here. It is a beautifully sunny day that is sweltering, but I wouldn't know because I'm hiding inside the air conditioning. It's pointing right at me. I'm doing good.
Was.
Yeah, wise. I have a half cup of cold coffee though, which will have to be rectified. But nevertheless, hello Flying Saucer. Hello Roger. Nice to see you guys. It's been a very interesting week, and Thunder and I will get into it. But first, more importantly, how was your weekend, sir?
Um, Fine.
That's
Just
good.
fine. Nothing too crazy. Nothing, not like last weekend with the big debacle with the keys. Nothing
All
like
right.
that.
Right,
Just
right.
just nice and chill. Did some mowing, did some, did my thing. Pretty chill weekend. Next weekend's gonna be interesting because it's a long weekend because in America, it'll be 4th of July on a
All right.
Friday.
That's right. That's right.
And the wife also has the 3rd off, so I'm not gonna be doing anything, like, as far as business goes those 2 days either. So we're just gonna have a nice little 4-day weekend where we just do whatever we want. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. It's
That
gonna be very
sounds good.
nice.
Yeah. I don't get to enjoy the 4th of July over here, of course, which
You
is
would
a shame
think
because
as
4th,
much as they love America and Japan, somebody would celebrate it just for
dude,
fun.
they don't even celebrate their own, Constitution Day, which
They
isn't
don't
even,
appreciate freedom. They
no,
don't appreciate it.
the Japanese really don't do much for any of their holidays. They're not fun
Boring.
people. They're kind of
They're
boring.
boring
Mm.
people. Yeah,
Very
but they're very efficient.
successful, very
Yeah.
focused and dedicated, but they're not fun.
Chester, I saw a video you would have loved. It was a Japanese carpenter,
Uh-huh.
and he was building effectively the ground supports because, in Japan, as you know, in Japan,
Hmm.
their floors are much different than they are over here,
Oh
the
yeah,
way they build those foundations because of the earthquakes. So
that's
he
right.
was building this pretty much all by himself, just a small little house, right? Probably just
Right.
for one person or whatever. Just a small little house all by himself, and he's just milling away, just with precision and expertise, and it's amazing to watch. I was you for a minute. I was enjoying someone just doing a craft
Yeah.
at a high
I love
level,
I love that shit. Yeah,
and
yeah.
he's just very Japanese about everything, very efficient, very meticulous. Not necessarily fast, but he
Oh
doesn't
no,
need to
they're
be
slow as
because
hell.
he's because
Japanese
he's
are slow.
nailing it. It's okay if he's a little
Yeah.
slow because he's nailing it. It's
Uh-huh.
perfect every
No,
time, the first time.
I don't think you understand. The Japanese are slow at everything.
Well, there's some things it's good to be slow at, Chester.
That's
Take your time with
fair, but they are slow.
Well, that's the white in you. You can't. We're the only ones who are in a hurry all the damn time.
That's
I don't know
true.
why. We
Well,
just are.
America, go,
Everybody's
go, go,
instant.
right?
We got to get there.
We got to
It's
get
got
it,
to
got
get
to get it
done.
done, got to get it done. But no, they are quite efficient and meticulous for sure. Actually, the way it goes is the initial foundation layout it depends if they're building, kind of a prefab or a traditional
Right.
Japanese home. But usually there's one dude who does the initial setup layers,
Yep.
and then
Yep.
5, 10 dudes come in and the building's up in one day, right?
Yep.
Because it's all
Very
pre-cut and
Amish.
prearranged. Probably knowing the Japanese, they probably built it in a warehouse and then took it apart, knowing them.
He said he did it with a computer. The computer
Oh,
did all of it, and all he had to do was basically put it together to its specifications.
right. Well, they do that because everything comes in already pre-cut for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Um, then they throw it up in a day. They clad it, roof it over. It takes like a work week maximum to get all that done. And then that
Mhm.
single dude usually will finish the interior. That's the way it works. Starts with one, ends with one.
But he makes good money though.
Oh yeah.
That is an unbelievable level of skill.
Oh yeah.
Like, diverse skill set. It's always impressive to me how you have these people with these big, like you, big fancy degrees, right? But you're not
Hmm.
like this, but there are many, as you know, people like this, who think because they have these big fancy degrees, they're smarter than everybody else.
Hmm.
Now go do his job. Let's see it. Let's see it. Let's see it, scholar. Get in there and do that. Do it let's see you do it at his level of efficiency because there's a lot of math. There's a lot of very very and he has to do it in his, like, right now. Boom, boom. He ain't got time to sit there and deliberate. He's got to get this done.
Oh, I see.
So
You
it
misunderstood.
has to be done.
You misunderstood. Yeah, for me,
Yeah.
it's just some things must be left to the lesser ones.
listen to this guy.
No,
But that
of
that
course.
but just like the engineers in the ancient days, right? Uh, I much more prefer the people who actually are the doers. One of the things I used to say when I was a technician and I would actually go and repair people's stuff all the time is we had a term, college educated idiot.
Yeah,
They were brilliant at what they knew, but if
sure.
anything else, they were just done. They had no ability to be any kind of autodidact at all. They couldn't figure anything out on their own.
Well,
Even though they were brilliant, you could talk to them about what they know. You get in their lane and they knew they boom, 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 and they could get deep and you could have conversations with them.
yeah,
But when it came to practical things, right? There's a great line in Star Trek: The Next Generation from old Geordi LaForge. See, because he's a real engineer in the field, he's in the field, and he tells the one lady there's a difference between theory and field,
all right.
actual work, what
Yeah,
actually works in the real world. And yeah,
yeah.
exactly, there is.
No, there,
And one of
there.
the things you can always tell when you're repairing something is if it was designed by an engineer who has absolutely no business designing a thing because it's way too complicated, or if it was designed by somebody who's been doing it for a while and they were given a maxim to make it as efficient as possible. Because if they do that, then it'll be simple. You want something to be efficient, it needs to be simple. If you
Yeah,
want it to be, not efficient or whatever, if you want to do a lot of boo, 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 have a bunch of bells and whistles, okay, well, now it's going to not be as efficient because, as Jesus says, you can only serve one master, and that's true for everything. You can't
sure.
serve two masters at once. So it's interesting to me, and we would always rag on engineers because we would go to these engineers' house to fix these things. Some of them even electrical and practical engineers who should be able to fix their own stuff, and they'll have got in there and they were helping. We'd say, oh good, he helped me. And it's a mess. It's just a mess. It tore it all apart. They got it all over the place. They can't figure out how to put it back together. And we're just like, oh, we didn't need your help, guy. We got this. It's okay.
Right.
We get it. Your big fancy piece of paper you spent a lot of money and time getting makes you think you can do everything, but you can't. You just can't.
Yeah, no, the theorists can be annoying.
Yes.
But you
They're
know,
certain. They're so right and they know it, but
yeah,
they're not. The real world doesn't care what they know.
I've always had a high appreciation for being autodidactic myself.
Yes, I
I
can
think
tell.
that's the way you should be. But
Yeah.
for sure. But like I remember, this is way back when we still had flip phone phones, so I don't know if you remember that era.
Oh, I
Uh,
remember. I had one.
but there was someone. I forget where it was, but someone had built. Was so proud, they had built a little Tesla cage antenna, right?
Mhm.
Which is really easy. You just need a magnet and like a metal colander will do. Some copper wire, an antenna. You don't need too much, and you can,
Right,
of course, if you direct that through, say, a coaxial cable, you can plug that into any modern TV, and it will pick up any of the local broadcasting channels, right?
right.
And he was so proud of this little thing, right? And for me, that was like high school science class, right? But he was so
Yeah.
proud. I didn't want to get in a direct confrontation with him about how useless it was. So all I did was I just took the his flip phone and just basically took the plug in through a coaxial cable, plugged in a TV, and gave him 100 times the dozen channels he had got off his little thing. So I was like, there's easier ways to do that, buddy.
Yes,
You know.
yes.
So I'm more
You know
like
what's
that.
fascinating about cell phones
Yeah.
is the only reason we have them now is because we have the infrastructure for them to work. The basic
Hmm.
technology existed 115 years ago, give or take, but they didn't have they didn't have there was too many theories, there was too many hands in the pot. They didn't
Yeah.
have what they needed for it to work. Tesla had working prototypes of very similar machines.
Yeah.
I mean, in the late 1800s.
Oh
Like
yeah.
they knew it would work. They just didn't have the infrastructure there to prove it. And I just find that fascinating that
Oh yeah.
we think we're so far advanced, but really we're just not. There's
Well,
a
no,
few things, sure,
we're good at
but we're not.
miniaturizing. I think we're good at that.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
But no, I mean, there's a lot of little things, and but with the example I just gave, that's those simple little. I don't know if you could do it with a smartphone. I would think it, maybe you could, but those flip phones are amazing antennas.
Yes.
So I mean, just you just wire that, especially a modern TV, which scans the channels for you. I mean, it's got a
Yep.
built-in scanner in there. That thing will probably whatever channels are available anywhere in the air around you will be picked up in probably 30 seconds, right?
Yep.
It is pretty impressive.
One of the
Uh,
things we used to do in high school, because we, the school I went to, we they had TVs pretty much in every classroom in case they wanted to show us a video or something. But they all were made sure they removed all the antennas and they didn't have any kind, you couldn't watch anything
right,
unless they put like a tape in or a DVD or whatever. Um, well, I guess it would have been tapes. DVDs weren't really a thing yet. But so what we would do is we would take paper clips, we'd unwrap those suckers, twist them up, put them right there in that little coax slot, and bam! Now all of a sudden, you get. I mean, they're not great picture, but the teacher's out of the room. Boom! Now you got a little TV to watch. We would do it
sure.
all the time. They get
It
so mad.
it is a little simple. It's electricity and signal and frequency are actually a lot easier than you think it is, especially with the tech
Yep.
around us. So much of your tech around you can do things that where they're not meant to be used for, but they can be. That's
Yep.
very true. But Yeah, science is great.
It
I
is.
do have something from Roger here. He says, well, when the Japanese build something, they use a lot of geometry and they use
Mhm.
the wedge system to interlock the ends instead of using nails pretty quick and efficiently, like Thundero said. Well, yeah, I mean, but do keep in mind, they're not the only people who use dovetails. I mean,
No,
the
we use them.
entirety of carpentry around the world uses these technologies independent of each other. Now, the Japanese do have certain cuts and interlocking joints that you don't see elsewhere, very rarely. I think
Yes.
the accordion joint, corner joint that they use is fairly unique to them. And it is a good joint. It's overkill. I don't know that you need it. But I guess the reason they do it is so that it has both vertical and horizontal movement abilities there for earthquakes, I guess is why. But
Yep.
yeah, the Japanese are very impressive. They are one of the world's best carpentry cultures for sure, without question.
Which is so strange to me because for some reason my mind doesn't look at them and see carpenters. I don't know, maybe I'm racist. I don't know. Something about them doesn't ring to me as that kind of craftsman. Precision? Yes. Like, really fine things? Yes.
Yeah,
But carpentry, yes, it can have that, obviously. But it also takes a grandiose scale of thinking, especially if you're building a big building, right?
yeah,
Uh, and that just doesn't compute with me with them. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. I think it's probably because a lot of their culture is so like pulled in, right? It tries to be small. They don't want to make noise, right?
true,
Unlike the West, where we're all about making the fireworks and get crazy and get go get wild. We're all about that, and a lot of their culture is the opposite. So
right.
I bet you
Um,
that's probably really all it is. But it's just
well,
interesting to me. I don't see them as master carpenters, but then you look at Japan and I mean, they are. It's
Well,
pretty
they
obvious
are,
they
without
are.
question, they are. But I would say they're probably better woodworkers than carpenters, to be fair.
Mhm.
I think their skill in carpentry simply comes from the environment. The earthquake problem, and it's a
Adaptive.
problem, has to be addressed. And
Yep.
the only way to do that successfully is either steel, which they traditionally didn't have, right? I mean, this is a
Right.
very steel or iron starved island here, right?
Mhm.
So they didn't have access to that. There are things you can do with stones, but the cyclopean building technology has been lost for 12, 15,000 years. We don't know
Right.
how they did that. I guess we could. It's probably been somewhat reverse engineered, but I don't know that anyone would allow you to take any of those monuments apart, right?
Right.
So the only access they had was wood, so they had to figure it out, right?
And they did.
So then they did. But I would say their woodworking is really where they stand out, though. If
It is.
you've ever seen a Japanese armoire or or just a simple box, it's impressive.
Yep.
Yeah,
Precision.
It is
They're
precise.
very good at
Yeah.
they're very good at precision.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just fascinating. I just really liked watching that little Japanese man work. He was probably about your age actually,
Yeah.
and he's just out there just killing it, just
Oh, sure.
all by his lonesome, just putting that foundation together.
Absolutely.
It was
No,
very interesting.
I have a dude
Very.
here. He's retired now.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, he had trouble where he has asbestos in his lung, and
Ooh, that's no good.
yeah, but I mean, he's still kicking though, and he's had that problem for a while. But nevertheless, he built my father-in-law's house, which is Jesus. I mean, and
Yeah.
he's done some work for me as well as a retired him.
Mhm.
I do have appreciation for that. But my place is old and just needed a little bit of refurbishing, right? Where
Right.
my father-in-law's house is more modern, built I don't know, 30 years ago, 35 years ago, I guess it was built
Mhm.
by him. But it's so beautiful, and there's nary a nail in the thing, right?
Yep.
And the Japanese, when they use wood, they're very particular about the types of woods they use in what instance. Now, a normal carpentry would do that in regards to, well, what's good wood for vertical stability, won't split. What's good wood to build in a wet environment. Go over here, cedar, or those kind of conifers are really, especially like cedar, are really good at dealing with moisture, right? Et
Right.
cetera, et cetera. But the Japanese take it a little bit further than I've seen other cultures do so. For instance, like when you come into the foyer or the little entry hall of my father-in-law's house, it's got like a beautiful marble floor there. It's got places to take your shoes off, set of stairs going up because like you had mentioned, everything is built off the ground, right?
Yes.
It's not there's not a concrete foundation, and then that's not how they do. But
Mhm.
that entire foyer area, which leads out to various sliding doors and various things like that, is all clad after the fact in camphor wood. Right
Mhm.
now, camphor wood is only it doesn't it's not structural, it's not strong, it's kind of a weak wood, but it's put up there because it gives off a certain smell,
Mhm.
right? There's other areas of the house that have certain wood used because they have a southerly exposure, right? So the sun
Right.
will come through, and they make sure that there are windows in that area. And the wood is a type of wood that shines in the light, right?
Mm.
Um, these kind of things. The Japanese go to that degree,
Mhm.
So now, like I said, this his house was built 35 years ago. But and in this little teeny village out in the middle of nowhere, I think he paid 250 grand, 300 grand for that. Now that doesn't
Mhm.
sound like a lot today, but boy, is it. I mean, it's
Mhm.
like three times as much as he had to spend, but he wanted to have that a temple level building. Because the guy I'm talking about, he's a temple builder,
Mhm.
and that's a whole nother license you have to get in Japan to do that. So,
Oh, they love their licenses,
oh my
boy.
God, dude. It's insane how many
The
licenses you need.
bureaucracy. The bureaucracy is outrageous.
My wife,
I laugh, but
yeah,
America is getting worse all the time with that crap.
sure. But once you have it, though, it is easy, though.
Mhm.
You know,
Well, once
uh,
you're used to it, and
like my
the problem
wife.
is America's so damn corrupt that it makes it harder.
Well,
Whereas
they have a
there's
little bit of
corruption,
that trouble
sure,
here too. Yeah,
but I bet it runs a lot smoother than it
yeah.
does here,
Well,
the bureaucracy.
just to give you an idea, my wife has a license for being a secretarial license. You have to have that. She has
Mhm.
a banking license. She has a communications license. Now, I understand that's talking on the phone. Okay.
Yep.
She has a Japanese calligraphy license, which the family abuses all the time, by the way.
Uh,
She has a Soroban license, which is an abacus license. Um, et cetera, et cetera. you know, I have
yep.
My licenses are more tame here because I'm not from here. But of course, I have a driver's license. I have a dynamite license. I have a dynamite delivery license. I have a dynamite handling license. I have a dynamite license
No,
permit license.
how can you wait a minute, wait a minute. Hang on. How can you deliver the dynamite without handling the dynamite?
It's a very good question.
Why does
Dude,
one not handle the other? I don't
no, you want to understand the pedantic level. Every single
understand.
week, of course, I only help him when he's busy, right? His
Yep.
normal day to day stuff, he doesn't need me. But when he gets busy, I go and help him out. Because there's not a lot of people around here with those licenses, go figure.
Mhm.
But every week that he's moving dynamite, he has to go down to the police department and get a new permit every week.
Oh my.
Yeah,
Oh my.
yeah.
It's interesting, Chester. This is actually a decent segue. The wife and I were watching because the season 5 of The Chosen came out,
Hmm.
and we watched the first little bit of it here, and we got to the part where Jesus has this little bit of a anger moment.
Tantrum.
Yeah, and he destroys the money changers and frees all the animals and
The
does his
Pharisees. Yeah.
deal. Yes, and it was funny because my wife doesn't know as much of the actual story, right, of Jesus. She wasn't raised in church or whatever, and she was getting upset looking at what they were doing in the temple grounds and the fact that they're sacrificing all these animals and they're doing this and they're doing that, and it's all this money's changing hands right outside the temple. It's disgusting. That's the whole point, and it's
That is the point.
sacrilegious. And Jesus has enough of it, and I I just said just I just started laughing when she started getting mad about it because I knew it was coming, of course. And they did a really good job. One of the things they did is they show him he kind of goes off on his own without his disciples, and he's standing on some building. Doesn't explain how he gets there. He's Jesus. He teleported. Who cares? And he's looking out over the temple grounds, and he sees all the people milling about and doing their thing. And he says, "Oh Jerusalem, Jerusalem," and then he turns away. And then the next time you see him, he does his little bit. Everybody's asleep in the house that they're all staying in, and he goes and gets this box, which is the bridle which this is something they established in the series. It's not in the Bible, but it's a bridle that he actually got from his stepfather, and he just used it to ride the donkey into Jerusalem, right?
Hmm.
And he starts to basically cannibalize it so he can make the whip, and they show him literally craft the end of the whip. He already has the whip, but he crafts like an end to it. And then I think the next time you see him, he's you know table flipping, and he's had enough of these
Yeah.
shenanigans, and he starts calling them vipers and den of thieves and the whole deal. And because my wife, she goes, I just don't like it. I'm tired of looking at this because they take a long time, about a whole episode setting this up of
Sure.
how like just corrupt it is, and like what you were talking about, how there's this. It's the same thing. It's just bureaucracy. Then there's everybody's got a hand in the till, and there's always a level where you got to pay. And if you want to exchange money, there's these exorbitant fees from Rome and from the temple itself, and then obviously the changers themselves, and they show all of that, and they break it down, and it's very obvious without them saying it, even though the Jews of the group, the disciples,
Hmm.
all seem to be, accepting of it because of course they are. It's how it's always been, so they don't even question it at this point. The Gentiles are actually kind of like, this is, I don't know, this just like you can tell they don't want to be offensive, right? They don't want to say anything bad to their friends, but you can see in the way it's acted and the way it's shot that it's disgusting to them that they're behaving this way on what is supposed to be a holy site. And which is interesting because if you knew anything about these cultures that these people represent, they all did that in their temples, but that's another point. Uh,
Sure.
and regardless, they just take a long time with setting up how, you know,
Well, it's
just
important that they do set it up. I mean,
yeah,
the Bible, well, at least the King James Bible, doesn't
yeah,
really get into the conflict that was going on at the time. You'll
mhm,
have to read extra biblical sources to know, or just
right,
historical stuff. But at that time, this is during the Second Temple era, right?
mhm,
The Pharisees and the Sadducees were kind of having a culture war, right?
Yes.
Now Jesus
They
and
set that
his
up
oh,
a
they
little
did. Oh,
bit, yeah.
that's good.
Mhm.
Well, Jesus and well, more so his disciples, because Jesus is a bit of an anomaly, isn't he? But his
Yeah.
disciples were definitely Sadducees, and the Sadducees, their whole thing was, hey, give unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, right?
Yes.
We need to Hellenize our culture, right?
Right.
Because they're the ones in charge, and we need to be able to move through their society. That's what the Sadducees were all about, and of course, the Jesus himself even makes comment to that, right?
That's coming
Um,
next. We stopped right before that
I see.
confrontation with the priests is coming now.
Right, right, right.
Anyway, go ahead.
But
Yeah.
of course, the Pharisees are more the old school, right?
The law.
The
All about the
Mosaic law,
law.
right? The Mosaic
Yeah.
law. And now, of course, your comment that pretty much every religion at the temple had money lenders and stuff like that, of
Yes.
course, is true, because temples were really city centers, is what they were.
Correct.
You had education classes at the temple. You had, I mean, all kind of things. The whole city life took place at the or town life happened at the temple, is what they were for.
Right.
But nevertheless, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, of course, was a big cultural conflict. And the interesting thing is, even though today the Jews will tell you, whether they be Hasidic or whether they be rabbinic Orthodox, or they're Sumerians or whatever the hell they are, they will say the
Right.
Pharisees are gone. That's a lie,
That
because
is absolutely a lie.
the Pharisees won.
That's
And
right.
all modern Jewish law is based on Pharisee thought, the traditional old stuff.
Yes.
They were not they have not embraced the idea of being modern at all. And of course, you
Mm.
can tell that if you look at an actual practicing Jew, right?
Right.
Now, to keep in mind, with the Israelis and the Zionists, they are basically secular. They're not religious at all, which is why the other Jews, who are actually Orthodox, hate them so much.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, the
Well, they're also
Sadducees,
supremacists as hell.
they are,
Yeah.
and of course, why not? God said that they're the favored ones, did He not?
Uh-huh.
So
If you ask them, yeah.
yeah, yeah, and
According to them, which is very convenient that all these prophets happen to also be of their same descent. There wasn't a lot of Roman prophets talking about how the Jews are great. That's interesting.
yeah.
We'll leave that alone,
Well,
though. We'll leave that alone.
the interesting thing about, unless you read the Hadith, and the Hadith are complete bullshit, but if you read the
Yeah.
Quran, the Muslims themselves also agree, as the Christians do, that the Jews are the
Mhm.
chosen one. Isn't that interesting? As much
But
as
the
they want to
question
kill them,
becomes, what is a Jew? And that's one of the things that
well,
Jesus redefines himself directly in
he
his
did.
which is why they really killed him, because they were supremacists and they couldn't dare have somebody undermining their entire
Oh,
scheme of power.
he
That's
wanted to
really what
bring
it
them
was.
Gentiles in, baby. You can't have that.
Yeah, and they
Can't
can't be
have that.
having that.
No.
Filthy goyim. We can't bring them in.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Of course, the
Yep.
interesting thing is, during this time, that a lot of people don't talk about, is, of course, we had Judea, and we had Israel, of course, under Roman control. But did you know there was also another Judea in Egypt area and Sudan area of Africa? There was
Mhm.
a North Judea, and a Southern Judea. Did you know that?
That's right. I
Yeah,
did know that.
yeah. So they were everywhere. But yeah, that's interesting. But I think a lot of people, because in most people's mind, a colloquial understanding of Pharisee just means, greedy, right?
Right.
Um, and fair enough, I guess, but it's actually a lot deeper than that. And I don't hear many people mention the Sadducees, which is interesting.
Well, the church I grew up in, he did on a regular basis, but they were typically lumped very similarly together. That's a word I'm not saying today for some reason.
Oh, they're not.
Uh, but no, they're not. But it basically the only thing the way they were presenting it is that none of that stuff at the end of the day is important because Jesus basically ended all of that. He was the when Jesus died. right? And the Holy of Holies, there was that veil that separated it from everything else. According to the Christian theology, that veil split down the middle, saying the symbolism is that God has gone out away from the Jews now, just from the Jews, and he's to everybody. He doesn't need a building to reside in or whatever. Um,
Right.
and that's Christian teaching. So when I said what is it, what it depends on what you define as a Jew. Well, Jesus and the later, obviously, so did Paul and the others, redefine that term. Yes, there are people of the blood that are Jewish, that are Hebrew, that are whatever, that are from Abraham directly and whatever, and the tribes and the yada yada. That's
Right.
fine. But then there's also the ones who are grafted in, who've been adopted into being a Jew. And that means that, and then well, one of them even goes further. I can't remember which one goes further and says, and the old ones are they're gone. They've fallen away. I think it is Paul actually. They've fallen away. I think it's in Romans. They've fallen away from the tree. He's using, symbolism. And now all that's left is the ones who've been grafted on, meaning the people who accepted Christ Jesus. Is
Right.
they're now considered by God to be his chosen people because they chose him. Which is
Right.
by the way, the entire reason they were chosen to begin with, chosen, I'm using air quotes, is because Abraham chose God. His faith was so strong that God blessed him. That's all. It's not because they're anything special or anything. It's because Abraham's faith was so strong, so pure, and because he was willing to do everything God told him to, except for when he screwed up. But we'll leave that alone. Um, God blessed his entire bloodline for that. That's why it was always an expression of faith. Abraham's faith was rewarded, and throughout history, the reward was the Messiah was going to come, the Savior of the world was going to come through your bloodline, your people. Jesus is, according, of course, to the Christians and to the Muslims, Jesus was the completion of that prophecy, and he will return one day. Both agree on this because the Muslims basically just hijacked Christianity, uh, at least a lot of the teaching. And one day that'll be settled business when the Jews are basically wiped out by the Antichrist, and then the ones that survive call out to Jesus to save them, and he does because God keeps his promises. But he doesn't keep his promises to you if you don't keep them to him. And when you go away from the faith, when you break that line, well, he no longer owes you anything, is how he sees it. So their obsession with being chosen, we're better than everybody because God loves us more or whatever. None of that's true. It's not even in anything. None of the Torah says anything like that. That is not what it says. What it says is you have been blessed. You've been blessed because of Abraham's faith. Because Abraham and his faith and his bloodline, there'd be two branches, and that's what these people believe. Of course, the Muslims believe that their branch is the correct one, and the Jews believe their branch is the correct one. But it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, if Jesus is who he says he is, which according to the Muslims and the Christians he is, none of that really matters at the end, because all that will matter is who is actually the Christ, who is the chosen one, who is the one who is the deliverer of the world, the savior of the world, the conqueror of the world. Both the Muslims and the Christians would say it's Jesus, and he's going to come back and at the end of the world take out the armies of the devil and the Antichrist. Which this is why Revelation is my favorite book. One, it's because it's where the good guys win, but it's also because it's just the most metal thing I've ever heard. If you read it, Jesus comes in flying in on a white horse, right? Big white horse,
Yeah.
and he says a word, and it says like a sword shoots out of his mouth, and he just wipes out 200 million people. I said, whoa, that's pretty metal.
Yeah, it's
And the
extremely
blood runs
metal. Yeah.
bridle high on the horses in the Valley of Megiddo, which I've
Although
been in. That's a wide valley. I said,
it
whoa.
is. No, Revelation is very metal. That is true.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got also have to understand another thing when it comes to the Hebrew peoples. I mean, they have all kinds of books. I think there's 10 specific sacred ones, but in truth, they only have two. Right?
Yes.
They have the Torah, which is the histories. Right?
Yep.
Now they
Which is
often
what
will.
the Christians have.
Right,
The
and
Torah.
they often separate the Psalms from that into its own little
Yeah.
thing, but the Psalms it's just the Psalms, right? But then they have the Talmud, which is the law, right?
Yes.
Now they have a bunch of other stuff, which is various rabbis' opinion on things.
Mhm.
But if you notice in what I just said, we have the histories, we have the law. Where is a book on the spirituality?
That's right.
Because there isn't one. I
They
would say,
demystified it.
yeah, no, the Hebrew people, for I have no clue how far back you have to go, but I don't think, I wouldn't say that they don't believe in God, but they don't communicate with God, and nor do they think you can. God is
Right.
this intellect above all things that of
Yep.
course you should give respect to, but it's not a thing that communicates with you. It doesn't interact with you. The Jewish don't have that type of thinking. They don't have spiritual philosophy really. Some of the rabbis' opinions in like the Zohar and some other things like that um, might delve into it a bit, but in my experience they have their histories and their law, and they don't care
Mhm.
about spirituality whatsoever. So,
Right. Which is, as I study more and more of the ones you're not supposed to study, right? If you follow any of the mainstream orthodox, any of them will tell you not to touch any of this stuff, especially Gnostic stuff. It's very clear to me that when you put all of it, or try to put, because you can't have all of it, but you put most of it in context with each other, there's one through line from Jesus Christ the entire time, no matter which version of him you're reading, is faith is everything. It's all about faith.
sure, the
It's always
Christians
all been
have
always been.
spirituality. They don't have a lot
Yes,
of
it's always been that.
philosophy, the Christians, but they do have spirituality.
Yes. And that spirituality is, if you understand what Jesus is saying here, he's quite literally he talks about a new kingdom, a new kingdom. It's not of this world, it's of spirit. God is of spirit. He constantly is talking about these sorts of things, and everybody's always confused because the Jews insist that he's going to come and conquer Rome. Um, they don't understand what Rome represents in the Bible, but they're not as smart as they think they are. Um, but regardless, he talks about a lot of spiritual things because, and he says this directly, all of this stuff doesn't really matter. All that matters is the spirit, because the spirit is forever. This is temporary. This is, the Bible calls it what's it? It's like a whisper in the wind. I think it says it just fades away, right?
Mhm.
It's just gone before you blink and you miss it, type thing, and that's true. Whereas the spirit, which there's a lot of science. I'm just saying that seems to indicate spirit is real. That something happens to our energy, but it doesn't go away. It just doesn't go away.
What, the
And we know
32
that
grams?
energy is the one thing that doesn't go away. You can't create it, you can't destroy it. It just simply is. And yet, for some reason, we think that our life force just goes away into the ether forever and it just becomes part of the void.
Ether. That's not a legal
Um,
word, by the way. No, it's. I'm not joking. It's actually technically illegal. There are several people that have made ether-based batteries or engines. There's currently
yep.
one African guy from Liberia, I think, that is trying again to get it passed through. But the various oh, what do they call it? Patent offices around the world, you're not allowed to use the word ether. Isn't that interesting?
Hmm. Tesla's favorite word.
It's yeah, well, sure, because it used to be on the. You do realize it used to be on the periodic table of elements, right?
That's right.
And then they took it
That's right.
off.
And I think that as we get deeper and deeper into the actual functionaries of reality, and we start to try to understand, I don't think anybody really does, but we try to understand quantum mechanics and quantum physics. It's very interesting to me
They're having
that
problems.
they are. It's very interesting to me that when you look at the thing that holds reality together, as we understand it, is light. And Jesus himself calls obviously believers the light of the world, but he also calls himself the light of the world, and he calls God the light of the world. And these every religion has some variation of the gods or the spirits or whatever is quite literally what holds everything together. And I just find that very interesting because it's exactly what the ancients said. We just use different words, and we think we're smarter for some reason. I don't know why, but we have this modern. this moderncy bias that we know more because we use more official sounding words, I guess. I don't know. We use more scientific words, but it's the same thing. We're just they're synonymous with each other. When you talk about molecular bonds and they're held together by energy and electrons, it's the same thing. It's all light. It's all the same thing. They would say light because they didn't have the terminology we have. We say electrons or vibration, frequency. It's all the same thing. How does
Well,
light exist? It exists in frequencies. Like, you see what I'm saying? It's all the
sure.
same thing at the end of the day, but because for some reason we have to pretend we're more evolved, I guess it makes us feel better. Um, because we have technologies that they didn't. There's
Well,
just so much arrogance. So
it
much arrogance.
is. Now, if you take the word light, which you're just taking out of the King James, if I were to distill that back into the original Hebrew, it's pronounced or, and it
Yep.
looks like the old gamel, which is where C comes from. So it looks like a kind of like a backwards small lowercase l, an I, and then this weird kind of weirdish N figure. It's pronounced
Mhm.
or. Now, of course, it means light, as in lamplight or sunlight or things like that. But it also means knowledge.
That's right. That is correct.
It is
Which
the Gnostic would be the Greek we would use for it. Gnosis.
yep, gnosis.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because the very first thing God creates is the light. And he separates the night from the day, but the first thing he creates is the light. Now I'd have to check. I don't have it to hand. I probably could look to see what word they use for light in that thing, like the original writing. I don't know
Oh,
off
I
the top
know
of
what
my
it
head.
is. It's or
Okay. Well, there you go. So the very first thing he creates
is knowledge.
is light and knowledge.
That's right.
Which to him apparently is the exact to the language he would use is the
Mhm.
same thing.
Yeah,
That's fascinating.
it is.
So
Um,
consciousness effectively is light.
technically, you could also use it metaphorically to mean divine presence as
Yes.
well. But yeah, no. When you read the original Hebrew, or screw that, just go back to the ancient Egyptian because it's the same damn thing anyway.
Yep.
And you read that first utterance in the Bible.
Mhm.
Actually, if you look at the whole thing and you read it correctly, which is kind of hard with the King James Bible, it's very clear that there is a planet that is covered in water and is
Mm.
dark.
Mhm.
It is covered in darkness, meaning cloud cover, right?
That's right.
And then the Creator came and spread the clouds apart and raised the land from the water. So
Yep.
even in the original text, it doesn't say anything about Yahweh, which I would argue it's not even talking about Yahweh, but it's not even talking about the creation of the planet. It's talking about the manipulation of the planet.
Right.
Right? Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't some pre-thought of an idea that the entirety of everything was somehow brought to be by some creator. But I'm just saying the text we have, if you read the original Egyptian or Hebrew, that's what's happening. It's a planet that is covered in it's just cloud covered and water is over the entirety of the land and the creator comes and separates it. And
Right.
therefore the knowledge that is brought in there's certainly a lot of metaphor with that, but I would suggest that it simply means light directly, as in sunlight.
Could be.
Yeah,
That's the way it's mostly interpreted, right?
yeah,
People just interpret directly as sunlight. But it's
yeah,
interesting because we know how much metaphor the entire scriptures is full of, right? Just about every other passage is some form of metaphor that you can apply in different ways. And it's interesting that the very first thing that he talks about is dividing the light from the darkness.
yeah.
And as you said, dividing, you can take that as ignorance and knowledge or
Sure.
consciousness
Oh, the
and unconsciousness.
the Bible's
It's
full of
interesting.
metaphor, dude. Lots of
Oh,
metaphor,
I know.
allegory. Sure.
I just find it very interesting. I'm not telling anybody what to believe whatever you want. My only thing is the only thing that I know personally, this is why I believe in Jesus, is because it works. I've seen it work. I've watched it work miracles in people's lives in a way I've never seen anything else do. I've seen drug addicts of 30 years just stop because they accepted Christ as their savior. Done. They never touched it again. I got no answer for that. Neither does science. It'll just tell they'll just tell you we don't have an answer. That just sometimes that happens. It's the only thing that consistently changes people for the better is faith.
Yeah,
Nothing else even comes close to the success rate that finding God, as we would say, does. Nothing comes
right.
close. It's not even debatable. They won't even try to debate it because they know they'll lose. If you bring this up to some, woo woo person about it, atheist or whatever, they have no argument. They have no argument because there's too many people who will be like, no, no, yeah, it changed my life, made me better. Yeah, I'm better now. I'm better now. There's billions of them, in fact, who would say that. So there's no argument against it that can stand, as God says, no weapon brought against me shall prosper. Uh, because there's too much evidence to the contrary. Now they'll be like, well, is there scientific studies? I don't know, and I don't care. Science isn't my God, it's yours. I
Right.
don't claim to need to know how the world works. You do. I just
True.
know that it does. That's good enough. That's
Sure.
enough for me.
And that actually segues quite well into Alan's comment here. He says ether is the compound, but ether, just the old spelling, can be the mystical space we all occupy.
Yep.
But to keep in mind, science has been hijacked since the war.
Correct.
I mean the Great War, World War II.
Yes.
After the World War II, science was codified. It was
Yep.
uh, profit margined, and it was
Yep.
controlled. Before that, we had a lot of people who were constantly throwing theories around and doing actual science. Since then,
Yes.
it has been a cornered off area for only those who are allowed to speak.
Right.
And now, why did they do that? Where is the conspiracy behind that? We could speculate. But
Yep.
that's the reality. We had science came under attack in the 40s, and then finance and family and being able to make a normal living for yourself came under attack in the 70s. These
Interesting.
these are two very important moments that no one ever talks about.
Yes. Well, it's interesting. That's an interesting kind of a what's the word I'm looking for? I guess we'll say callback. Um, Finance. Curious. It's interesting how the enemy works. And the enemy, I'm not talking about any one group of people. I'm just talking about whatever the evil force is in the world that corrupts what is good to what is
Banking,
not good. It's always the banking. It's always the money.
yeah,
As Jesus said, the love of money is the root of all evil. He didn't say money is the root of all evil. Money is just a tool. You can do it good or bad with it. It's the love of money because the love of money makes you want to control things,
hmm
right? You need to control. So, like what you were just talking about, that's what they did to science. They couldn't allow science to be science, which is free. True science is freedom. It's freedom in its most basic form because it's the question why.
yeah,
That's it. And that is freedom. When you don't have the ability to ask why, the very first, most basic understanding of all knowledge is the question why. When you don't, and wisdom, when you don't have that, you're not free. Doesn't matter what else you can do, doesn't matter what else you can say. If you can't question the narrative, the authority, the zeitgeist, the whatever, you simply are not free. It's that
of
simple.
course. And that's the intent, of course. But let
Yes.
me give you an understanding because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Trump wins. He's winning. Win, win, win. Left and right win," and he is. But
Yeah.
financially, I think people don't understand the victory that the guy had here the past week. Well,
Mm,
the information finally caught up to us 6 months in.
yeah.
There are a lot of numbers, of course. The Nasdaq and stuff like that are higher than they've ever been, and inflation is down. Yada
Mhm.
yada 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 yada. All normal things.
Gas is
But
going down.
sure. But here's a statistic that they're not telling you about that I think is the most important one.
Yep.
Actual money in people's pocket, meaning their salaries, their increase in pay for their
Yep.
efforts, is higher than it's been. Get this, in 3 generations.
That's right.
That
I love it.
is monumental
In
because it
six
was
months.
3 generations ago that those fuckers started messing with it.
Yep. Yep. They did the modern equivalent of coin clipping, is effectively what they started
They
doing.
did.
And if we were any kind of rational people, the people who were responsible for this would have been dragged out in the street and dealt with
Oh
in
yeah.
the old way, like they were when they got caught coin clipping back in the day.
You're right. or just get
And
kicked
it's
out of
just
the entire country. I'm
yeah,
talking to you,
yeah.
Jews.
That happened 1,300 times, I think.
A
I
lot.
think is the number. It's a
There's
lot.
the
A
Jews were
lot of
kicked out
times.
of a lot of countries, dude.
They've been kicked
Um,
out of a lot of times.
they did, yeah. But what do you want? You're
Stop
upsetting.
messing with the money.
Well, you're
Just leave it
upsetting the
alone.
financial systems, man. Yeah, they can't.
Chester,
Don't do
so
that.
I was watching we were watching the shows. It's funny we're talking about this, and I literally pointed out because you pointed out to me, and I didn't ever thought about it this way, but it's completely correct. The Romans didn't really care what you did as long as you paid your damn taxes. It
No,
didn't
they
hurt
didn't give a
anybody.
shit. Yeah,
They didn't care. And they effectively show this. There's a meeting between the high priest Caiaphas and Pilate where they're setting up for, it's Passover, so this is a big money making operation for these two effectively, right? For the temple and for Rome because they get their cut. And they're setting that up and this whole conversation happens and it's just basically about that. And it's just very
sure.
interesting. At one point, Pilate literally, which I don't know why they do this. Maybe he was, and I'm just misremembering. But they always seem to make Pilate a little bit effeminate every iteration I've ever seen. And they also seem to sometimes imply that he's kind of incompetent. But from what I understand, he was a pretty good governor
Yeah,
overall.
I haven't
Um,
read anything historically about Pilate that would suggest either one of those things.
yeah. So I don't know where that. I don't know if it's just some weird. I don't
Well,
know. I don't know where it comes
he's
from. But
just a faggy Roman, I guess.
I guess. But regardless, they have this whole back and forth. And in one point in there, he says, Rome, we're very tolerant of other people's religions because we believe that all of your religions are basically the same as ours anyway, that it's all the same thing. And he points out, which is very interesting, that this is a Christian organization that makes this show.
Right.
He points out he has I can't remember what it's called, but the little 12 stones that the high priest wears during
The
the
Mithrans,
ceremonies.
yeah.
Yes, he has that locked away, and the priest came to get it. That's just a sign of Rome's in control, right? It's just a symbolism thing. I don't know if that was actually something they did, but in here they did it just to show that Rome is the one in charge, and this guy has to come and ask for his holy symbol, holy
Sure.
relic. Um, but when he does that, he points out that you have 12 stones on there, and we have, our 12. The zodiac has 12 signs, and his point is this is why we see it as basically the same thing and why we tolerate it as long as it doesn't cause us trouble, especially since they can make a bunch of money off of it.
Right.
They were fine. So it's very interesting. I said this to my wife. I said, when you think about it, the Romans were more Jewish than the Jews at this point. Like they didn't care what you were doing as long as you were paying them. They didn't care.
Oh yeah. And of course the Romans were Mithrans, for
Yeah.
the most part. And of course, not only are there 12 stones and 12 zodiac, there's 12 foundations at the four corners. I mean, et cetera, et
Yep.
cetera. It's all connected, 100%. That's a very accurate statement. Um,
Yep.
but uh, but no, I would. And you could argue with Vespasian a little bit, but I would say the Romans didn't really weaponize religion until Constantine.
Yeah. And which was the point. That's why he did it.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, they were mostly I mean, it was a social situation. It wasn't usually done there wasn't usually a political motivation.
Hmm.
Even the persecution of the Jews that happened occasionally and the persecution of the Christians,
Christians, yeah.
it was just they didn't care about the religious aspect. It was they were
No.
causing trouble.
Well,
That
yeah,
was all it was.
and a good example of that, of course, Constantine came in the 370s, which is literally 300 years past the story you're dealing with.
Yes.
Because although they like to say that happened in 30 AD, these whole Jesus stories, they happened in 70. They
Mhm.
did. They just did. They happened during the Jewish Revolution. But that's all right. It's only 40 years mishap over 2,000
Which is
years.
nothing.
It's just
Yeah,
nothing.
that's nothing
Um,
historically.
but with Constantine, when he came in and he made official that the Christian religion is now the official religion of the Rome, very
Mhm.
little changed amongst all the Roman offices and all the different little Romes all over the place. The
Yeah,
bureaucracy itself, because there is no difference between mysticism and Christianity, right?
right,
But it shows you how little they give a shit, because we did have some, there was some non-Christians and some Jews that came under persecution during that. And
right,
the worst of it would be the destruction of the Library of Alexandria, which was
by
done
far.
by Christians.
Yeah.
right? But Constantine didn't even make a comment on it. His
Iconoclasts.
Well, yeah, but no, that's true. But I mean, but his official historian put it was in the records, but Constantine himself didn't even comment on the destruction
Right.
of one of the greatest libraries on earth,
Which is terrible.
which is
Maybe
terrible.
the greatest. We don't know. There's no way for us to really know. But the amount of knowledge that was lost is just irreparable. It was one of the greatest tragedies in human history.
Yeah.
The destruction of the Library of Alexandria.
No, that's true, Alan.
True.
It's a Hollywood imagery. The
Yeah.
stereotype is to make all ancient Romans Caligula. But keep in mind, he was so despised that his own Praetorian Guard killed him.
Well, that happened. That happened on occasion.
It did, but I mean, they killed him specifically because he was a deviant.
Yeah, he was just a real piece of shit.
Real
Just
piece of shit.
real.
Because
Yeah.
in the most part, Caligula didn't involve himself in government, unlike Nero. Caligula
Right.
just wanted to party. So he wasn't interfering in anyone's politic. He wasn't. It's just the Praetorians like, ah, no, no, that's too much. That's just too much.
Yeah.
And they dealt with him because
Well,
he was a true deviant, Caligula.
just degenerate to his core.
Yeah,
No, it was. I mean, it was the right thing to do. Let's be honest. He
it
had to
was.
go. He was a problem.
It was.
Nero had to go too. He was a problem. I give the Romans credit when they had bad emperors.
They dealt with it.
Yeah, that usually got dealt with. When they had good ones, they usually got to do their job, and they did it. Many of them did it very well. Most of them were just okay, right? They just did what needed to be done, and that like all rulers, most rulers are
Sure.
just average.
And they're
But
fine.
occasionally, yeah, occasionally you'll have your Augustuses or whatever. Um, well, not well, once you'll have that, but you know what I mean, really good ones. But it's just very interesting to me how much it parallels what we were talking about with Trump.
Hmm.
Augustus comes in, he wins the Civil War, which I mean, of course he did. He was way smarter than all of them. He outmaneuvered them, beat them all, takes control of Rome and of the empire over time, eventually. And he implements all these reforms, which are basically the equivalent of implementing a modest tariff system, which was the yearly tax, which was very little. I think you only had to work like 2 days or 3 days a year to pay it. If you
Yeah.
that's how small it was. It
Sure.
was tiny
Sure. Very
and
small.
very modest. And then other than that, you could basically do what you wanted when it came to trade. As long as you didn't get in the Romans' business and get in their way, right? Official business, trade wasn't
Sure.
really heavily regulated.
Sure. And
And
anything more than 10% was considered usury anyway. And who were
yes,
the people
and
that were usually accused of usury? Who? Who? Who?
you know who, Jester, you know. Um, but no, it's just very interesting because it works. It's always worked. All these so-called economists, which by the way, many of them are actually Jewish usurers, but we'll leave that alone. These so-called economists will tell you till they're blue in the face that this system doesn't work. This system has always worked. The government takes its tiny little stipend, and other than that, it just gets out of the way. And when you do that, and you have a people that's industrious, like the Roman Empire has, like Americans are, like the Japanese are, they figure it out. They simply just figure it out. And it works out beautifully because when you have a market system, we would say a free market system, but it's not totally true. But we'll use the term. When you have that, there is an incentive for everybody involved to play as fairly as possible. Because the moment you don't, you lose. There's no grand hammer that's going to come down on you. It's just everybody's going to walk away from doing business with you. Your reputation is everything. This is why contracts were so important in Rome, and they
Mhm.
had many of them. Your reputation is everything. And if it gets tarnished, you're fucked. Basically, you're
Yeah,
just done. No one's going to do business with you.
it's true.
That is the best way to organize the market. It's always been. We might be have more levels of technology or whatever now than we did before, but it's always been and it always will be. There is no other way to handle the human condition, human nature, which is greedy, than to allow the greed to burn itself out. That's the only way to beat it. Because if you try to control it too much, all you're doing is you're replacing one greed with another. That's it. That's all you're doing.
Yeah,
And greed will always suck whatever it's sucking on dry. It'll kill it.
yeah,
It's a tick. It'll just suck it till it's empty.
yeah,
And that's what happens. So the more you put in these apparatuses on top of the system, like your income tax, like your this and the da, 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 it makes the system weaker by default. By default, the system's weaker because the system can't grow without growing around this nonsense that's been put on top of it. And when Augustus did this, I mean, it was a great deal for other countries and nations or what have
Sure.
you, people to join the empire because their taxes went down and their life expectancy went up. Because the
Well,
food was so they were so good at agriculture and they could get it move it around and do what they needed to do, the Romans, that it was a great benefit to most of these people if they would just stop being retarded and listen to him and just work with the man, pay him his
well,
money, and then boom, you win. It's a win. It's kind of like Trump in Canada. Trump's offering them the greatest deal maybe ever offered in the history of politics, and they're scoffing at it. And I'm just like, that's just stupid.
yeah.
What are you
Well,
doing?
keep in mind that Augustus, or Gaius Octavius, he
Yes.
was he's basically the one that put in the modern provincial bureaucracy system that we use today.
Yep.
We do have a little bit of influence from Kublai Khan himself as well, which
Mhm.
oddly enough, but he was responsible for that. And of course, one of the reasons he was so successful, but not only he was obviously a freaking genius, uh,
Yes.
but he ruled for almost 41 years.
Right. Which is
So
amazing.
yeah,
It's a
and
long reign.
well, he got a lot done. He got a lot done,
Yes.
and he changed the empire. He changed well, of course, it was a republic, and it became an empire.
He
But
probably saved the empire, to be
I'd say
honest.
he did. But
Yeah.
here's the interesting thing about it, though, because with these days, everybody thinks Palladium or Rome was some Italian thing. But let's take a look for a second, shall we? We'll go from
Yeah.
the empire itself and with Augustus. Where is he from? Gaius Octavius.
I don't remember
I
off the top
give
of
you
my
I
head. I'd
give
have
you
to
a hint. There's a high Hitler in there somewhere.
Oh, he was a German man, is
He
what you're saying to me.
was.
You're
He
Austrian.
was. Then,
Yeah.
of course, after him, we had another long-running ruler in Tiberius for about 20, 22, 23 years.
Yeah.
Where do you think he was from?
I'm assuming also somewhere north of the Rhine.
Oh yeah, a German. Yeah, we had
Yes.
Caligula. Of course, his real name was really stupid, but let me read it out to you, and I'll give you a free guess. Gaius Caesar Augustus Germanicus. Where do you think he's from?
Um, Spain.
Yes, you hit it right on the head. Then of course, we had Tiberius Claudius Caesar Augustus Germanicus. They're getting a little
Yeah,
long-winded here.
they
Where
do.
do you
They get a
think
little
he's
long in the
from?
tooth.
How about that next
Also,
guy, Nero? Yeah,
also the German. Yeah.
yeah,
No, it's interesting. It is interesting.
yeah.
How Germanic the
They all are.
empire, because yes, yes, and how Germanic the imperial, what we would consider, especially that era, probably the heyday uh, of the empire, especially under Augustus, which is why they all took the name Augustus. Um, how Germanic it was, how it had
Oh, it all
become
is, dude.
so very Germanic, and it's just this is why it's one of the reasons. One of the things I was saying earlier when you can't ask why. Listen, I'm not a Hitlerian. I think Hitler was an idiot overall. His plans
Well, he was a useful
were
idiot.
were misguided.
Yeah.
However, he wasn't wrong that Germany had a claim, the German people, to the Reich, which is Rome. They had a claim to it. They always did, to the Empire of Rome, the Reich. Uh, he was correct because quite literally it was Germans that made the thing damn work, to be honest. So
Sure.
uh yeah, no, he wasn't wrong. And their idea of it, of their claim to it, wow, obviously very ancient and flimsy and in that regard, it wasn't inaccurate. It did exist. The claim was real. He didn't just make it up. Um that's just very interesting to me how much of it flows all the way back into that little part of Europe, which isn't very big. Little part of Europe.
Well,
Uh,
it also explains why so many of those European cities are first very Romanesque in their look, but gigantic and incredible high-end technology. It explains to it because if you go through all of them, from Nero to Galba, Otho, all the way through the Flavian dynasty, You get into the Nerva Antonian dynasties,
Right.
and then of course into the Severan dynasties, etc., etc. These are all Germans. They're all of
That's right.
them. Every single one of them are German. So how are you going to tell me Italy has anything to do with anything?
No,
Especially because that big city Rome was renamed not too long ago,
right.
right? Because the reason they focused on that, because that's where the Holy Roman Empire, which keep in mind was founded by the Germans. Everyone gives credit
Right.
to Charlemagne for that, and fair enough. I mean, he did save
Right.
it and make it a thing. The Holy Roman Empire was his creation, but the Germans are the one that started that shit.
Yep.
Which once again brings into the argument of the fall of Rome, which is complete nonsense. Um,
Yeah.
but
The transition is a better word. The
it is a
transition of Rome.
transition. But every damn one of them, all the way down, all the way even up to say Constantine, right? Who's another big
Mhm.
player that came in, right? Um,
Yep.
he's a German. They're all German.
Yeah. He spent a lot of time in Germany too, old Constantine.
Of course he
A
did.
lot of
Most all
time.
of them did. Now he built the new capital over there at a wonderful trade route area in what we call Istanbul today. But the reason why the Rome today is so thought of as the center of the Roman Empire is because the Holy Roman Empire, which was officially created by Charlemagne, that
Right.
was their center, the Vatican.
Right.
It's not actually the center of the Palladian Empire at all. At all. Germany was. Isn't it
Yep.
interesting how in modern times the Germans never talk about it, and the
Nope.
Italians lay claim to every damn thing.
Well, that is where I was going, and you got me back there.
I know.
When you demonize someone as much as Mr. Hitler has been demonized, which fair enough, he did some really terrible shit. Um, but when you do that, and when you can't ask the question of why did he believe these things? Well, he was just a racist, evil guy. Okay, yeah, okay, stop. Why? First of all, he wrote a book explaining it. Just read it. But also, where did these thoughts come from among the Nazi Party, the National Socialists of Germany? Where did it come from? And it's because what you just said. The reason why they had to demonize him so much to where they've devoted endless billions and billion, probably trillions of dollars to the desanctification of the man's name to make him synonymous with the devil
Yeah.
is because they didn't want the Germans to claim what he was claiming, which was true. Their birthright as the rulers of Rome, as
Right.
the ones who have the right to that title.
And
That's
they're
all that's ever been.
it's
That's
true.
it.
And look at their revenge, right?
Yeah.
Because you had a crazy old priest over there. His name was Martin Luther.
Yes.
And he was protesting the grotesque gaudiness of the Vatican. And what did the German princes do? It's like, hey, we might be able to ride this for something. And they did.
We could do something with this, and they
Yeah.
did,
And
and it
look how
worked.
many damn people died, dude.
And now you
We
got
don't even
America,
know. And now you got America. But I'm just saying that,
the whore of Babylon, old
yeah,
America.
yeah.
Um, well, actually, Babylon the Great. The whore is the Jews.
I think what
That
I'm trying to say is
spoilers,
the Italians are annoying. That's my point.
but they make really good food, Chester,
They
and they're
do.
funny
This
when
they do.
they gesture so much as they speak for some reason. They're always moving.
They
You'd
are.
think they'd all be really skinny, but well, American ones anyway, they're
With
kind of chubby
a
with
little
all the
bit,
moving.
you would
They're
think.
moving around a
But
lot when they're talking.
they're not their movement is not as entertaining as the Indians though, because that head side hot side thing, that's pretty funny.
I don't understand it. My
I
my
neither do I. They're unique.
physiology just won't
Yeah.
do it. It's like, no, no,
There's
no.
something in the DNA there because they definitely every time they speak, right to left, baby, right to left, baby. Unbelievable.
So what we're
Actually,
saying is Hitler was correct. The Germans are superior, right? That's where we're going with the question.
sure, mm, if you'd like. I just get a chuckle out of all that. Anyway, should we cover some news today? You think?
Let's do it. Let's cover some news.
All
The
right.
Northeast, West, and South. Let's cover some of that.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much to talk about as far as geopolitically. I mean, Trump had a great week. I would say him getting the people to the table and ending the Rwanda Congo conflict, and it looks like they might actually have been successful with that.
Yep.
That's a good thing. You know, that's a good thing. Everything else is pretty static. I mean, China is still in full rot. I mean, it's insane how bad it is over there.
Did
Russia is just kicking the shit out of the Ukrainians. Oh my God, dude. Please, it's one of those things that you're like, please just stop already.
just give up.
It's
Just tap
so,
out. You've
it's,
lost.
it's too much, dude. It's too much.
Justin, do you remember when it started? We both agreed that the best thing that Ukrainians could do is come to the table now, today,
What,
and
three
make
years
peace.
ago? You mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just surrender. You're not going to win, and we're not going to come save you. I told you we weren't. We propped you up for a
Yeah.
while, but the
Yeah.
American people have no appetite for this bullshit. We're not coming to save
No.
you. It's not
Yeah.
going to happen.
And the that's true. And of course, the whole Israel Iran thing isn't really a done and dusted. Of course, we knew that.
It never will
Although
be.
the old priest leader of Iran has put a full-on fatwa on our president.
Uh-oh. Not
Uh-oh.
a fatwa.
To be
Not
killed
that.
on sight, sir.
Oh, no.
Hmm.
Oh, no. Listen, we all watched God literally make him dodge a bullet like Neo from the
Yeah.
Matrix. I'm all right. I'm not worried.
Yeah.
I think he might have a little bit of protection.
Yeah.
Might have a little bit of protection. But it's did you see Mr. Trump? He got a little heated when he
Oh
was
yeah.
getting on that helicopter that day. He dropped an F-bomb. I said,
Y-
"Whoa, that might be the first time a president's ever done that in public."
Well,
Wait a minute.
you know
He
what?
he might be making history.
Yeah, you know what I love about that though. Well, Nixon dropped f bombs every 3 words, but the thing I loved about it is he is a staunch supporter of Israel. He is
He is. He loves
maybe
Israel. He does.
the greatest supporter of Israel president we've had in a very very long time, even more than Reagan.
Right.
But at the same time, he will criticize them for their bullshit,
Yep.
and I
Yep.
love that. I love that.
That's because he actually loves the loves them. That's why. That's why. He's not just see what happens is we were talking about this earlier with the Zionists. They don't just infiltrate the churches, they infiltrate everything. So they're agents and they're what have you, they're zealots. They don't really love these people. They're just being paid or they're being blackmailed or being whatever to do what they're told. Trump isn't, as far as I can tell. He just genuinely seems to love Israel. I
Yeah.
don't know why, but he seems to.
Well, I think he might be. I know, shocking for this. Hold on to your boots, guys. I think
Yeah,
he might actually be a Christian.
he might be. He's-
I know that's shocking because they all say they are, but I think he might
Well,
actually
I
be.
mean, I don't know, man. You'd have to have some serious level of something to not want to convert after not getting your head blown off on national television in front of the whole world
Yeah,
and
but
your family.
notice what he said when that happened. Whether he was talking quite candidly because
Yeah.
he almost just got killed. Um, he said that his son, Don Jr. had
Hmm.
kind of a coming to Jesus moment. He said
Hmm.
he didn't talk about himself in that way,
No.
meaning he would had already been there, right?
Yeah.
And Roger, I did not put up the Street Fighter thing. I did see it, and it looked a bit weird. But since you've asked me not to talk about it, I shan't. So let's go ahead and get into it. Um, try to reverse psychology me, right?
One of the things that I will say, last thing on Trump, is when I said earlier that the main core tenet of all faith, or I'm sorry, of all of Christianity is faith. Trump has lived his whole life that way. He has always been a bit of a gambler, bit of a
Yeah.
risk taker. He's lost lots of money. He's made lots of money.
Yep.
That's just faith at the end of it. It's the same thing. He just has faith in this is going to work out. I guarantee you most of the time he actually doesn't know how, but he just knows it will because he knows that X, Y, or Z is correct. The groundwork is correct. So it has to. And I think you're probably onto something. Even if he wouldn't call himself that, he has the makings of it. If you get my meaning. Like he carries himself that way in a high level of faith. Anyway,
Yeah. Well, it's
F1, the movie, crashes at the box office. Budget versus reality breakdown. That's a shame.
yeah, no, I want to talk about this. I haven't seen this and I am going to go see it.
Yep.
I have watched several reviews, not spoiler reviews, just straight up, reviews, opinion type stuff. And
Mhm.
everybody I look, and I tend to look at an eclectic group of reviewers because I want to kind of have a rounded idea.
Yep.
And all of them loved it. So that's a positive. Is this
Yep.
the greatest movie ever made? No, but it was great fun, great acting, beautiful race scenes. It was just from the artiste type of critic to the just dude like me. Everyone loved
Right.
it. So that's done and dusted. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. The general idea is Brad Pitt absolutely kills it. Anybody shocked? Anybody?
No.
Okay.
When
This
was the last time he didn't? Let's be honest.
To be
He's a good
fair,
man. He's a good actor. He's a good
uh,
actor.
I don't know the name of this actor here on the right, but it sounds like his acting is pretty good, but his character's insufferable,
Of course it is.
which I maybe is the point. The guy who did this movie is the same guy who did Maverick, and everyone had the same kind of comment. You can tell, meaning the race scenes are
Right.
shot in a similar vein. But I mean, the everyone adored the race scenes, so they must be really good. Brad Pitt killed it. And that's about it. I didn't watch any spoilers. I'm not going to because next weekend I'm going to go watch this at a one of those 4K cinemas.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go see this in the best way I can without traveling hours to do so. But yeah, I don't have much to say about it because I haven't seen it yet. But I just wanted to talk about it a little bit in this regard. It is. I've heard no one bash this movie. No one. But the problem was they spent 300 million on it, and that's not talking about marketing. So this could be 400 or 500 million dollar. They're in the hole.
Right.
Why? Why spend that much money? I mean,
I don't know. On what
I don't know.
do they
We
spend
know
that much
there's these money schemes are going on, and it's all gone somewhere. But this movie is going to fail in an enormous way, even though it's really good and everyone likes it. It's going to bomb hard because there's no way it's getting back its money. It's not going to
Well,
happen.
it's also why did they put everything out at this time? Guys, not that short. You got, like, really 4 months because everybody considers most of June summer too, even though it isn't.
Yeah,
Um,
even May.
you got you got plenty of time. What are we doing? Why did we
I
shove everything within 5 weeks of each other? That was stupid.
don't know.
That was just dumb.
But who knows? This it might have legs because, like I said, everyone really enjoyed it. But you do have a bit of a problem here, right? Americans in general don't care much for F1. It's just it is what it is. Just like we don't watch soccer, right?
Right.
Europeans, of course, adore F1 and mock us for not, being able to do anything. It's kind of like black people shocked that other races, particularly whites, can do music. It's weird.
It is.
It is really bizarre. It's like, the white people, like in that Sinners movie. Can't remember that actor's name. He's a pretty good actor, the old guy. But he made the quip that the white people are almost in rhythm sometimes. It's like, dude, there are thousands and thousands of legendary white musicians throughout history. What are you talking about? Every single color of people on this planet have great musicians. What are you on about, dude? That is so
Yeah,
stupid. But the problem is they believe it,
they do.
right? And
Yeah.
I'm making that analogy because the Europeans look at us the same way as being, hillbillies, redneck idiots that can't even do racing right. Now, and they are. I am being very specific with racing. They look down on us hardcore. The Europeans do. They do, right?
Yes.
Now, the thing is, I enjoy F1, but you know what's a lot more fun to watch, actual watch, than F1 is NASCAR.
I agree. And I don't
100%.
particularly love to watch either of them, but if I'm gonna pick one, it'd be NASCAR.
Yeah. Now, F1 is maybe more interesting to follow
Mm.
because of all the, company drama and the manufacturing championship and all that kind of stuff. But NASCAR, if you want to just sit and watch a fun race, go watch NASCAR. But they are like that. So you are going to have some of that in play. You definitely are. The Americans don't really even acknowledge F1 or care much about it. They're not hateful of it. They just don't care. The Europeans are definitely going to watch this movie, but then again, what would they think about some American actor being in it when it's very rare that you see an American, and I mean a United States of America, in F1? It's ultra rare, right?
Yeah,
And here's an American actor portraying an F1 guy. Are they going to get angsty about it? I mean, I know it
they
sounds
might.
stupid, but dude,
They might. They
yeah,
might.
they might.
There's a lot of anti-Americanism floating around out there nowadays
Yeah, yeah,
because these people, unfortunately, much of the world is very heavily brainwashed by the idiot box and the people that control it. So they believe the things that they're told by their media and what have you. Um, to the point where we've all seen it, right? You've seen it for sure, Chester, in Japan.
sure.
People have this visceral reaction to things like Trump. They don't even know why. They couldn't tell you. They have no idea why.
Yeah,
They just do.
they just been
They just
told
do.
to so
Yeah.
emphatically. Yeah, the propaganda is stiff. Now you mentioned Asia though, in regards to the F1 and stuff like that. Asians don't have that kind of thinking. It's just the
True.
European versus Americans, which has always been a thing. They've
We
always
like
looked
to go
down on
fast.
us. They love to knock us. It just is what it is. How and I don't know how
It's
that's going
fine.
to play out, but I can't imagine you're going to get enough Americans to go out and watch this movie to get past that $500 million need, right?
Yep.
It just isn't going to happen, dude, and it's a shame. Because, like I said, as Alan has said as well, I've seen nothing but praise for this movie. I haven't heard any negatives at all. It's great. The only negative I heard is the black boy. His acting is really good, but his character is annoying. Which when I see the movie, I'll make my judgment. But I kind of have a feeling that's the point, right? So I don't
Yes.
know. I don't want to get into it too much. After I watch it, I'll come back and talk about it a little bit and give my opinions. But I just, man, they shoot themselves in the face all the time, dude.
It's a shame because it does look like a pretty decent film. But even to your point, even when I saw it, I was like, why are they making this? And then I saw it was like a summer release and it was a big budget. And I'm like, who is this for?
Hmm.
Who's the audience for this film? If it was a NASCAR movie, maybe. I hear Tom Cruise wants to make another Days of Thunder.
That
That
could
movie
be
didn't make
fun.
a lot of money when it came out to begin with, but whatever.
Maybe he'd be a
Um,
crew chief or something like that.
yeah, we'll see. We will see.
Yeah,
But I just don't know who this is for. And that's
yeah.
that's one of the problems we've had. And this is obviously not even a political thing. Hollywood's just completely unmoored from reality.
They
Like,
are.
they're gone. They're just
Yeah,
gone. They
they
don't
are.
have any idea what they're doing. They're putting out stuff that literally nobody is interested in. And it's not because we're not interested in the actors or maybe even the story. It's the premise itself that we're just like, okay, yeah, but it's like making a soccer movie in America about professional American soccer. Eh,
Yeah, no one's
we're
going to
just
care.
we're not
That's
interested.
that's kind of my point.
Yeah.
They could have easily done this under 100 million. Easy.
They coulda did it as just did it as NASCAR. It would have been fine. They coulda just made it NASCAR.
Yeah,
And we know Brad Pitt can do an accent. Just make him do a little Southern accent. Make him be, old school NASCAR Southern boy. Probably the exact same story otherwise too. The
sure.
exact same otherwise, but the setting, the tone, the premise of the setting is more Americanized. And I know Hollywood doesn't like to hear this because they hate America,
Right.
but the American superculture, which is what it is still the superculture of most of the world. So if you make
Sure.
something
And will be
typically
for a
that
while.
does yes, if you make something typically that does very, very well here or would do well here on in a normal circumstance, it'll probably do well other places as well. Now, sometimes you have these anomalies where something does really, really good in China for some reason, like the Warcraft movie made tons of money in China, but
Sure.
made very little here, which was strange to me, but whatever. But usually that's the case. When it gets to near or at its budget just in the States, it's golden, right? Because that means that the audience is there. The audience exists for it, and it's probably Americanized enough that the audiences of the world, which have been heavily indoctrinated into American style entertainment, can pick it up and watch it.
Sure.
One of the things that we saw
I'll be
with
back
Star
in a
Wars,
second.
one of the things that we saw with Star Wars, the sequel trilogy, which oh god, oh, I reminded myself of it, is it didn't do well in Japan or in sorry in China. Now there's a lot of reasons for that, but that's an anomaly. Usually, if something does very very well here, it'll do well enough or also very well elsewhere. And the reason being is exactly what I said: the Americanization of the superculture of the world. Um, so many people I've talked to who weren't native English speakers learned from watching movies, watching TV, listening to podcasts that are in English. It's because that is the superculture of the planet. So if you make something that appeals to the actual general audience, which is still to this day the American audience, and you can get them in, you're probably going to be all right. It's very rare you have a movie that does great domestically and bombs everywhere else. It does happen occasionally, but it's very rare. Usually they're fairly synchronous. There's a fair synchronicity between the two of them. So again, back to my overarching point is who was this movie for? There's not enough F1 fans in Europe that are also going to go see a movie with Brad Pitt and some black guy who I don't even know if anybody even knows who he is about
No.
racing F1.
Although it
They
sounds
just
like you did a good job though.
yeah, he's probably fine, but that's the point is it's kind of like within what I was talking about with China with Star Wars. The Chinese are very racist. Let's just call it what it is. They don't like black people. They really don't like black people. They don't even want to see most of them.
It's true.
They have exceptions though, like some here or there they'll have exceptions for people, but typically they don't want them in their stuff. They don't even want them in their country. So one of the things that they had to do, Disney had to do, is they had to remove or minimize Finn as much as possible on the promotional material and then eventually even in the movies themselves to try and, break the dam that was the Chinese market. They never succeeded, really. Those movies did not make money over there. And but my point is that's an anomaly. Usually if something works here in America, it'll work around the world because our culture has become ubiquitous with so much of other people. When people think of a movie, most people in the world, if they've ever seen one, they think of an American film, right? Or they think
Yeah.
of an American style film. Now you might have some artsy fartsy people who think of like, oh, I like Italian movies, whatever. But you know what I mean. Overall, your general audience who aren't big film buffs they think of a movie, they're gonna probably mention something made by Americans in America in English with very American ideals. Da 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 da. That is why things like this just don't make sense. Who I would love to ask the executives who greenlit this movie, who was your target audience? You should know
Yeah.
that before any conversations about budget exist in your mind. Who are we making this for? And they obviously didn't have an answer to that question. So I don't know. They decided to just throw good money after bad, and that's what you get. And the sad thing is, guys like, well, for Brad Pitt, he's going to be fine. Obviously, he's Brad Pitt. This isn't going to hurt him any. But everybody else involved, yeah, probably. The guy who made Maverick, the director of Maverick, a very good director. Maverick's awesome.
Sure.
Obviously, probably gonna hurt his career if it bombs hard enough. Like, and that's a
Well,
shame
it
because
shouldn't,
he's a good guy.
but you're right. Financially, money is money.
Yep.
That's for sure. I mean, John Carpenter has so many acclaimed movies, but they didn't make money.
Yes.
This guy, he's 35 years old, dude. He doesn't look that old. But
Damson Idris. What a name. What a name.
damn some yeah, well, let's not bring that up. Um, Javier Bardem is in it as well. Carrie
Yep.
Condon, she's looking old, by the way.
Yep.
But whatever. It's just a weird little thing, dude. I just want to. I'll talk about it more after I've seen it. Let's move on to the next one, which this is interesting.
Ed Boon praises Mortal Kombat 2 movie. These guys nailed it. And okay, Ed, listen, I get it. You're these sorts of statements from these sorts of people, this is just pure marketing. That's all it is.
Of course.
He doesn't believe that. Maybe he does, but
Well, he
let's
is
be
the
honest, he doesn't.
creator of the original video game.
Him and Tobias, I can't remember the other guy's name, but whatever it was,
Yeah,
Noob
yeah.
Saibot is their two names combined. Um, Yes, he is the creator. He's still, as far as I know, the director of the franchise at NetherRealm Studios, um, which I don't know if is a good thing. I think he's to the point now where he's been doing this long enough. He should just be a consultant, but that's another topic. Um, and let some new blood get in there and see if they can make something interesting. But I don't buy this for a second. I love Carl Urban. I love him. I think he's a gem. He's a beautiful, wonderful actor, and he seems like a genuinely good dude. But he's not Johnny Cage.
He's
He's
way too
just
old
not.
for one.
Yeah, he's just
And
not.
why is Melina so unattractive?
That's Katana, but yeah, I don't know. They've done that to her in the games too. Unfortunately, NetherRealm went very, very woke,
They
very,
did.
very
I
hard,
noticed. Yeah.
and they uglified all their women, took away their boobies, put all this clothing on them for some reason. The men, not so much. They're still all, Liu Kang still got a shirt off, for instance. Um, but yeah, they just went very, very, very woke, and it's a shame because the thing that made this game great was its irreverence. It was counterculture.
It
It
was.
was we're gonna be hyper violent, hyper sexualized, and fuck you. Basically, it
Mhm.
was punk. It was basically punk rock of video games. Mortal Kombat. They had whole congressional hearings about this game when it
They
came out.
did. They
What
did.
happened?
And do keep in mind that metal breast cover she's got here. They're lying. There are no breasts under them.
Yeah, that's a flat chested woman. It's a shame that she's flat chested. I'm sorry for her, but Katana is should not be. Katana
No.
should be endowed. She's
Yeah.
supposed to be gorgeous and, that sort of stuff. She's not supposed to be whatever that is, just plain, I guess. There's nothing wrong with that girl, but she's not what Katana is. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
Carl Urban is Johnny Cage. When I heard that, I said, "Oh man, I love Carl. Don't do this to me. Don't do it." That first Mortal Kombat movie, which this is the sequel to it, the one they put out a few years ago. It's okay for the parts that Scorpion's in it, but Scorpion's only in it for like 10 minutes at the beginning and at the end. Other than that, it's got
Yeah.
nothing to do with
This
Mortal
one right
Kombat,
here.
really.
Yeah, it was
But
okay. It was okay.
they created a new main character for some reason. It's just weird. Like,
It
what are we
was it
doing?
was it was okay. It wasn't a full on train wreck, but it was still isn't as good as the original. Just
No,
isn't.
it isn't. But I'll give those two something. Your Liu Kang, your Kung Lao. They did a good job. I thought that was good casting. It's just they
Sure.
didn't give them anything to do. like
Yeah, it was
like they were
boring and
redundant. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it wasn't great. But they're trying to get the hype train up and going. The new character was S. You're right. We'll
Yeah.
see. It would be nice if we got a good one though, wouldn't it?
I would love that. The first one is one of my favorite movies, not because it's, one of the best movies ever made, but it hit at just the right time. I'm
Yeah,
a big Mortal Kombat fan. I love the lore. I think it gets overlooked for how actually well written the lore
I'll be
is
back.
for it. It's very well done. I love that first movie with what was his name? Kelly something. Playing Liu. He's a great Liu Kang. The guy they had playing Johnny, a great Johnny Cage, and even Sonya, great, just really good casting. I love Mr. Lambert, old Highlander himself, as Raiden. One of his best performances. He was having the time of his fucking life. You could tell for whatever reason he just loved playing that Thunder God. The gentleman who was playing Shang Tsung, perfect. It was like he was made for the role to the point where in the new game or the most recent game, I think it was the most recent one, they basically just made him Shang Tsung now. He's just forever Shang Tsung. like they just took his face, but yeah, he's Shang. That's just is what it is. Um, and yeah, it was just a really good adaptation. We have up until very recently, we didn't get good or even okay adaptation of video game properties. But I think that first Mortal Kombat movie is probably one of the best ones up until we got up here to like the Mario movie, the Sonic movie. Um, yeah, maybe it might be. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head that was on that same par. That yeah, okay, it didn't quite have they changed some things around here or there, but for the most part, you're going there to watch a kung fu fighting movie. You got a kung fu fighting movie with some really cool visuals, some
Right.
interesting effects, especially at the time. Lambert as Raiden was just mwah, a a chef's kiss.
It
And
was
who's
great.
the guy who plays Shang Tsung? He was famous. He's in everything. He's one of those Asian
He's
guys who's in
the
everything.
yeah Bon Appetit guy from Iron Chef.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he does so many great things, but I can't remember his name. Uh, but that first one had really great. The original back, I think it was '95, had
yeah, it
great
was good
casting.
fun. It was good fun.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, they
So I hope they do. I hope I'm wrong. Maybe they're gonna play him as, because Johnny's supposed to be kinda on the back end of his career. He's down. That's the idea, right? That's why he goes to this competition. So maybe that's where they're going. Maybe they're just gonna make him a little older. But I don't know, man. I love Carl, but I just don't see him as Johnny Cage. He might
yeah,
kill it though.
we'll
He
see.
does
I
he's a great actor. He truly
He
is.
is, but
Uh,
I think one of the problems they've had with this series and all the stuff that's been done since the first good one is they completely missed the idea that the first one was tongue in cheek, cheesy
yeah,
popcorn movie, and they keep
that's right.
trying to be too damn serious.
It seems like the only person who understood that was Christopher Lambert
Yeah,
because
and
he's
he
having
was
the
just
time of
having
his life.
a hoot. Yeah. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see. It comes out in October, guys. Uh, somebody shoot me now.
Michael Bay rumored back on Transformers with 5 projects. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5, cinco projects in development. I'm gonna shoot you, and then I'm gonna shoot Grimlock, and then I'm gonna shoot myself
Thank
because
you.
we all know we're all just that we don't need this. The world doesn't need this. Nobody is asking for this.
No.
I don't know the person who's like, yeah, we need more Michael Bay Transformers movies
No,
ASAP.
no,
No,
no.
no,
And of course, Transformer One, which failed badly, although as it turned out, it seemed to be a pretty good movie. I haven't seen it, but the critics
yeah,
seem to
it was the
like it,
marketing.
and the fans too. The marketing
Yep,
screwed it. That's completely dead in the water. Done.
done.
Right.
Unfortunately,
And therefore they're scrambling that because Skydance is buying Paramount, right? And
right.
we've mentioned that here before. They're just waiting for the federal go ahead, which could be any month now, right? So what is actually going to happen in the future when Skydance gets a hold of it, we don't really know. But the people there, as it is, they're trying to pull him back in because he's the only one who made money. Now, let's be fair; those movies are bad, but they did make money.
They do. They do make money,
The
and it's the
kiddies,
reason they
yeah,
make money is that, and they are fun. The action in them is fine. The sequences of the transformations are pretty cool. It's just there's oh man, Transformers is another one. Great lore, unbelievably good lore for what it is. Right, the reason it even exists, and they can't get out of their own way and just make what the fans want. And they tried to, from what I understand, with one, but then they betrayed themselves with the stupid marketing, making it seem like it was something it wasn't. And yet again, they still haven't learned this lesson, old man. They keep doing this to themselves. They keep putting out this crappy marketing that presents it as X when it's really Y, and Y is what most people would actually like to watch. Another great example, the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
yeah,
I love that movie actually. I
yeah. It was
rewatched it
fun.
a few months ago. That's a good movie.
It
That's
is.
well made,
But
and you
the
wouldn't have known it from
marketing,
the
well,
marketing.
because they keep shooting themselves in the face with the
Yes.
marketing. Now, I've just had enough of it because this right here is bad news, and hopefully Skydance, when they come in, will put the kibosh on this nonsense. However,
Yep.
everyone keeps wanting to talk about Street Fighter. All right, fine.
Uh-oh.
The
You're gonna
Street Fighter
make Roger
casting.
mad.
No, well, they keep mentioning it, and now Maple Cheek wants me to talk about it. So, all right, fine. So who do I don't even know who these people are. I have a Kalina Liang. Now that's a forehead for a female right there, boy.
She's
Uh,
got a bit of a five head, yeah.
and
That's a five head.
I see a very skinny little
Does she
body there.
have thunder thighs? Because if not, I'm not interested.
I don't think so because she looks kind of scrawny to me. But
Yep.
that is an unattractive girl. Holy. Let's go ahead and see if we get a full body picture of this girl. But I seriously doubt she's going to. No, she's just a scrawny thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
scrawny little
Yeah.
thing.
She's not Chun-Li. Chun-Li is a
No,
warrioress. She's a bad bitch.
she is
A real one.
awesome. And why
Yeah.
couldn't we go find the modern Asian equivalent of Cynthia Rothrock? I mean, Come on.
Well, if they're out there, you can
They
find
are.
all kinds of cosplayers
They
who do it.
are.
They got the thighs, they got the kicks. I'm like, "Damn, girl, all right.
Yeah,
Don't piss her
she's
off, she'll kick your head off."
way too scrawny. And this, but
Yep.
you never know. She might be able to sell it. If she can sell it, then we're good, right? I mean, because that's what it comes down to. Anyway, that bad start, bad start. Are you excited now, Roger? Okay, here we
No.
go. We have Andrew Koji as I don't even know who these people are as
It's
Ryu.
real. Um,
Okay,
yeah. I mean, he's in good shape, but he's not Ryu shape.
well, he's the guy that
Right?
played the race swapped Snake Eyes, right?
I believe so,
Uh,
yes.
as Ken.
Why are we
What?
not allowed to have blonde people in movies anymore, Chester? What is this? What is this racism?
I I don't know, but this kid doesn't look like he's got anything going on either.
No,
Jason Momoa as Blanca? Huh?
that's correct. That's correct. I don't know.
He might pull
Um,
it off. He might be able to pull it
he'll
off.
probably he's gonna be the dark horse of this film because Blanca's awesome. I love
Yeah.
Blanca. He's just ridiculousness manifest, but Momoa might be able to pull this off. The problem Momoa has is Momoa has 2 characters and he plays them very well.
Yeah.
He plays weird pseudo like metrosexual guy.
Yep.
That's his new one.
Yep.
Or he plays
Badass.
Aquaman, yeah, Aqua Bro.
Yeah.
That's it.
Aquaro badass.
That's all he's got. He doesn't have
That's right.
anything else in the tank. So we'll see what he can
But
do with Blanca.
he's well seasoned at it though.
Yes.
Because he's way older than you think he is. And I don't know. I actually think he might do a good job as Blanca, dude.
He
I
might.
mean, you know,
He might. He might.
that's
He might
not
pull it off.
that's not. I don't know what's pissing these guys off because they're all mocking this list, but I don't think that's the mockable point. Let's keep going. Roman Reigns as Akuma. Huh.
Akuma. Yep,
I
Roman's
mean,
getting in.
I don't know
He's
if he
starting to
can
get in.
act. If he can act, I mean, he's got
Oh,
the
Roman
body
can
for it.
act. Roman can act. He actually I used to be a big Roman Reigns hater. He won me over. He can act. His
Cool.
ability over his he had about a 4-year title reign when he was champion, longest in modern history. And some of his their segments there. He didn't do a lot of wrestling during this because of his contract, but he would be on TV, right? So they do segments, promos, whatever. His acting is phenomenal. If he can bring that same level and they give him, they let him give him some stuff to work with, something to sink his teeth into, I think he can be a big star like his cousin. I really do. I truly do. He's good
Cool.
looking. He's a great looking
He's a
dude.
good
He's
looking
got great
dude. Yeah,
shape,
that's for sure.
good work ethic.
I
Yeah.
said he's better looking than Dwayne, although Dwayne does have a
Yeah.
certain charisma. If he can act, this dude could have a serious career, actually.
Yeah, I think so. I think he will. And he's a
But
great dude. Joe, his real name's Joe. He's a great guy. He's a family man. He's got like 5 kids. He's been married to the same woman since he was in college. He's a really good man that you would want at the head of a franchise. That's why
right,
WWE picked him. That's why.
yeah, yeah,
And yeah,
but I'm kind of wondering what the angst is because so far ahead, I mean, the Ken one is pretty bad.
yeah.
That he looks like a little kid. This guy, he can pull that off. We've seen him. He can do that. This is not good. But yeah, the Chun Li was the worst one for me so far. Uh, ooh, hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Wait,
What
what
it?
is this face?
What
Why
is
would they
this?
give us an act? Can we see his face?
He's a country
Wait,
singer.
how's he gonna play Vega? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Isn't Vega Spanish?
I think
Or-
so. Yes. Let's not.
I'm
Don't look
so
at it. Don't look
confused.
at 50 Cent.
That's Bell Rock. Love it. I love it for all the wrong reasons, but I love it.
He is in fair shape though. 50 is in fair
Yeah,
shape.
50's got a, he's got presence, and Balrog needs that presence because
Yeah.
he's that guy. But
What the hell? I mean, Schultz is a pretty
ah,
good actor, but now I get it. Now I'm starting to get
oh,
it now.
oh
That's
my.
okay. Star-studded. But I mean, come on. Does anyone think a Street Fighter movie is going to be anything better than the original one we got? I mean, come on. That
No,
original
you're
one was
not.
perfectly. Raul Julia, it was everything.
And Mr. Van Dam
Yeah, he
as
was fun
Guile.
too, but it was all Raul Julia, his dude.
Well,
As a,
correct, but here's the problem: who's going to be Guile? Who are they going to get to play that? Because one of the great things about Mr. Van Damme is he doesn't have to say much. He had that look, he had that
Oh
physical. He
yeah,
was
great
very,
looking
very
guy.
Keanu Reeves
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
his day. So who they got? We're gonna. I guess we'll find out
We're
if
gonna
he's even
have
going
to
to be
get
in the movie.
someone. Yeah, you have to get someone legitimate. But more important than any of that, who's going to play M. Bison?
That's important. That's a
It
big one.
is. It is.
That's a big one.
Unless
You
they
need
go
a
with
little bit
someone
older
else.
guy. He's got to have a little size to him. He's got to have imperiousness. Uh,
Holy
you got
crap!
to be able to believe it.
Alpha Proto says the guy who's playing Netflix Reacher is Guile. No, no, that's not right. That's not right.
Really?
No, that's not right.
Wait. Alan Richson. He's a little big. He's a little
He's a
thick.
lot big. I'd rather see him play Honda. But uh,
No, wait a minute.
well, one thing I've noticed with all of this, there's not a lot of people in here that actually could sell fighting. I mean, this Andrew Koji guy, he
Well,
can. I've seen him move.
Roman can do it.
Roman most certainly can. Jason can.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know what the hell that is. But 50 can't sell that, dude.
I just find that amazing. You know what? I might go see this movie just because they cast 50 Cent as Balrog. That is hilarious to me. I don't know why. It's just it probably because he had those fighting games back in the day, and it's
Right.
just everything about this is like a great serendipity. It's probably why they cast him, to be honest.
Maybe. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
we'll see. We will see. The big one, the only one on this, well, there's two. The Ken one, and Chun-Li not even close. Chun-Li's supposed to be at least pretty, and she's supposed to be
Yeah.
built like a tank for a woman. Like
Now,
she'll kick your head off type
it's
woman.
you would have to find a super fit woman. This guy here, we looked at her and it's not great. This guy right here, this is. Let me go see. Maybe he's a little more stacked than we think he is. Let's take a look
Well,
here.
he's also got a little time. You know how they do in Hollywood. They pump him full of them
Oh no,
steroids.
yeah, you're
Get him
right,
jacked
and
up.
they have their techniques. So, oh no,
I mean, he's
he's
good
got.
looking.
Look
Good
at his
looking
neck.
guy.
He this kid looks like he's got a wrestler body actually.
Yep. Yep.
All right, all right. He might be a little more thicker than we think.
That guy's hair though. Get out of here. We need some blonde action. Sick of this.
Oh well, they can
Because
dye
these
him up.
I'm brunette. I'm brunette, and I'm sick of all the brunettes. Where's all the blondes at? Where
Yeah.
they at?
Now this kid might be okay. He's in shape. You can tell by looking at his neck and shoulders. So
Yep.
you know, well, okay, we'll see.
He
We'll
works
see.
out.
But you know, whatever. I don't really even give a shit about Street Fighter. Let's be honest. But anyway, let's move on here. Now let's get into a series of happinesses. Okay, so here we
Happiness.
have
That's not a happiness. That's not a
badness,
happiness.
and I
Yeah.
hope that Walter Goggins is going to play M. Bison. Joshua says, okay. Um, we'll see what
No.
Skydance does. Let's move away from this into some interesting things.
You
First things
know
first.
what? He
Yeah.
might be able to pull it off. I'm never gonna doubt Walton. He is a chameleon. So he might be able to pull that off. Anyway.
Okay. So let's start with this. We're starting to get reviews out from the people who have seen it ahead of time, and this reviewer's take is very interesting about. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. You can read the headline. Sorry.
James Gunn's Superman review. Love it or hate it, says Insider. That's not what you want for Superman.
Well,
See, this is exactly what we were afraid of though. We don't need Superman to be in any way divisive. That's literally the opposite of the point of the character. So if that's how it's being described, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. It's already wrong. It's already
right,
wrong.
and I think it's even more wrong than this what anonymous YouTuber says, because one, he says the Zack Snyder people are going to hate it. Okay,
Yep.
but he thinks that actual comic book fans will love it, and this is his reason, which means he's not an actual comic book fan of Superman anyway. Because this movie is Guardians of the Galaxy 100%. It's not
Oh my
kinda a little bit. We knew it would have some in it, but no, no, no. This is 100% Guardians of the Galaxy is what it is. And he thinks, therefore, real comic book fans will love the more tongue in cheek aspect of it.
No,
No, dude, you don't know
no.
Superman at all.
He's sincere.
He
That's the
is
whole point.
sincere. So I have bad feelings on both sides now because we know how the Schneider group are. We know how they are. They're a
Yeah,
bunch
they're a
of
cult.
damn hyenas.
Yep.
But him he's saying in a joyous way. This guy, he loves the fact that it's Guardians of the Galaxy, and he feels that that's comic booky. This guy is clearly not a comic book fan, obviously.
Well, here, so back to your point about Snyder. The reason why for me Snyder's movies don't work is because he's too serious with Superman specifically. Superman obviously can be serious, but it's supposed to be light. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be, lightheartedness. You can have your darkness and your seriousness, but at the end of the day, Superman's got to save the damn day, right? That's what we're here. That's what we punched our ticket for, folks. That's what we're here to
Right.
see. It's not like we go to see Godzilla. We're not here to see big philosophical soliloquies about life and monsters. No, 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 no. The first movie did all that, and nobody's ever got even close. Since then, we're here to watch big monsters punch each other in the face. All right? That's what we're
Sure.
here to do.
Sure.
When we're going to Superman, when we're looking at Superman, we want to be inspired. We want to feel aspirational. We want to feel
Yeah.
good about
Yeah.
our tomorrow. That's the point. It's
Yeah.
not supposed to be a bunch of yucks. It's not supposed to be tongue in cheek and oh look how out of the no 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 no. It's not supposed to be so severe that it's hard to watch, like Man of Steel is in parts. Where he breaks Zod's neck. Um,
Or
that's not
steals
Superman.
steals laundry or
Yeah,
destroys a guy's truck.
yes.
It's just not.
Lets his own father get murdered by a
It's
tornado when he could
ridiculous.
save
It's
him.
ridiculous.
Like that's
Yes, it
ridiculousness.
is, and that's what
That
you get for
misses the
letting a
point from
German tell a Superman story.
two different angles. You're missing the point. Yes, James Gunn's going to get the lightheartedness. I have no doubt about that. But that's not the only issue. The issue is that he's going to do it so much that he's
Yeah.
going to not be able to
Well,
bring the sincerity with
well,
it.
let's read between the lines of the comments from this Tachyon Pulse guy. Okay, the
Yep.
YouTuber. All right. Um, he says Superman comic book fans will love that it's a love letter to comic books. Okay. Snack cider people won't. Regarding the general audience, the normies, right? The YouTuber says they might not like it and could feel frustrated because the movie is fast paced and some of the details and jokes might fly over their head. Well, then why you? That's a
Then cut them
horrible
out.
point.
Cut them out. We don't need them. Don't need them. Jokes don't land. They're not jokes.
That's
They're
right. And
that's
we
that's
and
how
we
it is.
don't need that kind of jokey. I mean, having like a little bit of a comic relief with Jimmy or something like that.
You
Okay,
can even
fine.
with crypto. You can do funny stuff with crypto.
Sure,
Fine. Okay,
sure,
no problem.
sure.
Uh,
Um,
but Superman should be sincere. He shouldn't be making quips on a regular basis. He can do it occasionally, but not on a regular basis.
yeah, but
Clark definitely shouldn't be doing that.
read
Clark's not
this
that cool.
read this section right here, dude. I mean, yeah, that's something they don't get right. Clark is not cool. They make that
No.
mistake with Peter Parker a lot too. But
Yes.
please read this right here and tell me how concerning it is. Go ahead.
All right. David Corenswet as Superman brings the humanity. Oh boy. The
Oh boy.
YouTuber says that David Corenswet delivers a solid performance as Clark Kent, bringing vulnerability and uncertainty to both his Superman and his human side. Oh boy. The insider says the portrayal adds a much needed human element to the character. Oh, you sons of bitches. That past films haven't fully explored. Quote, we get to see both an unsure Superman, that should be Anne, and unsure Superman, and an unsure Clark Kent, which I actually think is really nice. No,
No,
it
it's not.
isn't.
No,
Superman isn't unsure. He
no,
knows what he's
he's
doing.
not unsure.
He's
Yeah,
oh, these people are
right.
so they're not even emasculated, they're
Yeah,
anti-masculine.
yeah. This
Superman
is
is the perfect example of positive masculinity. You couldn't
yeah.
get a better one, and you still fucked it. You
Now
still
this
fucked it.
this guy is Gen Z, and I'm not blaming him. He's just giving his opinion. But this is a Gen Z kid. You can tell because he doesn't know what it should be. He's just saying what it is, which is fine. There's honesty here. But
Yes.
the honesty is disturbing to people who actually know Superman. First of all, you're 100% correct. Clark Kent is unsure because it's a
Yes,
character,
that's right.
right? Superman is never
Caricature, even.
unsure. It is a
Yeah,
caricature. That's true. Superman is never unsure. And let me help you out with your little humanity there. He's not human at all.
correct.
He is
He is
an
better
alien.
than us. This is why these movies are all made by Lex Luthor. Every one of them, except for the first two. All of them miss the point. Superman is better than us. That's the point.
Yes.
He's supposed to be in every way, morally, ethically, intellectually, physically, spiritually, if you will. In every way, he is the man of tomorrow. That's the point.
It
And when
is.
you miss that point, you miss. Don't even touch it. Just leave it alone. Go make Batman. Go make. You want human? Go make Batman. Superman's not human.
Yeah.
Stop it.
He's
He
not.
doesn't need to be humanized because you
And
don't know
he
how to tell a fucking story.
that's
Oh, it
true.
pisses me off.
It does piss me off as well. And the thing with Superman, he's so benevolent that he will
Yes,
let you think that you're important too,
that's right. That's
right?
right.
Um,
Correct.
so, like I said, I got nothing against this tachyon pulse kid. Clearly, he's a kid because he's just being
I hope.
honest. He just doesn't understand what the subject matter. And
Correct.
that's so I'm not knocking on this kid, but I think there's a lot of sincerity and honesty in this review. Actually, the way he's putting it, right? This is not
Right.
propaganda. He might think it is, but in truth, it's not. So okay, we're not batting 1,000 here, guys. We're not.
We're not. We're not.
We're not. Let's keep going here. Fast paced, not another origin story. That's good. It's good that it's fast paced. Sure, why not? And we don't need the origin story again. Everyone knows who Superman is. Uh,
Yes.
that means less character development for the supporting cast. The YouTuber's source notes that the movie moves fast and keeps the energy high. Hardcore DC fans might appreciate skipping the usual setup. I agree.
Yep. No, I think that's fine. You just need to allude to it, reference it, make sure people who don't somehow still don't know Superman's backstory,
Yeah.
if that person exists, they get
No.
enough that they can go, and then you just I think the recent Batman movie did it perfectly. We didn't need to see the whole scene in the alley, and we didn't need all that. Just
No.
let's go.
No. You
Hit the
could just
ground
have
running
like a
and go.
photo on a
Yeah.
desk or something like that would be fine.
Have him looking
Yeah.
across the desk, and there's some photos, and
Of
that's
him as a
boom.
little kid and the ship in the back or
Right.
something like that. That's that's fine. So actually, I like this. It's fast
Yeah, that's
paced,
fine.
and
Yep.
we're just getting at it. Okay, I have no problem with that. It's fine. Uh, go ahead.
Oh, oh my. A comic book movie for comic book fans, general audience could be lost. James Gunn is said to have picked, hang on one second, something in my eye, have
Packed.
packed Superman with deep cut references, comic style pacing, and a lot of characters. Again, the tone is said to be closer to
Once
Guardians
again,
of the Galaxy than
once
Man of Steel.
once again, he said this. That's the second time he's referenced it to being
These
very,
are
very Guardians of the
two
Galaxy.
different extremes of how to tell a superhero movie.
They are.
Neither of them are correct.
No,
They're
and
just
Man
not.
of Steel with a few alterations would have been an amazing movie.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. I agree. But we didn't get those alterations, unfortunately.
No,
We got what we got.
but Nathan Fillion as Fillion's Guy Gardner. Well, first of all, he looks horrible. It looks
Horrible.
horrible. I love Nathan.
Yep, I
The
do too.
the source says that the fans of the comics may appreciate characters like Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner, but casual audiences could find some of the humor and characters off-putting and confusing. Well, he is an asshole. If you're not a hardcore comic book fan, you're just going to think the character is a buffoon. Oh, great, they went that way. He's supposed to be funny, but if you don't get the joke, which is true for any extroverted character, really, he's just going to be irritating. Wonderful, wonderful,
Wonderful.
wonderful. It does look horrible in the trailer, though. He looks so bad.
He
Um,
does.
Now the robot thing, when I saw it in the trailer, I was like, oh, okay, it looked good.
Superman bots.
Yeah, Superman backs. I like the look of them, but oh
Yeah.
boy, have a read of that.
The robots, the YouTuber adds that the robots in the Fortress of Solitude don't work well in the film. The source
Ooh,
has also said that basically has also said that basically about the robots that you're supposed to love the robots. You're supposed to feel an attachment to these characters because Superman does in a way. They're almost like parental figures. They look what? They look after him. They've cared for him. You're supposed to feel that, explains the YouTuber. But according to the source, actually you just get irritated by them. And I actually, you know what? It's funny. There is a clip I put it in the chat up here. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah.
There is a clip of him I think I put it in there, of him speaking to them about crypto, about something crypto, I don't know, crypto made a mess in the Fortress of Solitude. And, he's basically lecturing them about they were supposed to look after him. And I got that exact same energy from it that
Yeah.
I know what Gunn's trying to do here, but they're grating. There's something about them that's just grating.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to describe it.
It's the
And
Jar Jar Binks thing.
it could be. It could very well be. And it's just this is so guys, this is so easy. This movie should be the easiest movie of all superhero movies to make. The only one that might be easier is a Batman movie, honestly.
Yeah,
And they've
Batman.
done that successfully many, many, many times. And yet Superman, we've gotten 1.5 because the second one, the ending's real weird. But up till that point, it's pretty good. Uh, we got like 1.5 really good Superman movies. And Chester, that was 8 years before I was, or no, 6 years before I was born.
Right.
There has never in my 40 years of life been a good Superman movie. Never
No.
happened.
No.
That's insane.
No. Man of
That's
Steel
insane.
was closest, but it had some very serious issues. Um,
Yes.
now this Rachel Brosnahan. Now clearly this is not an origin
Brosnan.
story. He's been doing his thing for a while. She's old. That's an old Lois. So I'm kind of wondering why they're not already together.
Well, they
Seeing
will
as
be by
how
the end of this, I'm sure.
yeah, but she's kind of old to not already be there, right? Because that's an
Yeah.
old lady. That she's pushing 40, dude, without question, right? Um, so that's a bit weird. I don't mind an older Lois, but it sounds like where they're in the middle of the courting period. The YouTuber
Mhm.
again points out Superman is not an origin story, but says they go into a bit about Lois and Clark's relationship. Uh, the Lois Lane storyline is a bit complicated. Okay.
It's
It
gonna be,
goes
but okay.
through as a rush, says the YouTuber. We see a bit of development of the relationship. They show the friction there with the relationship. Why? The journalist and the superhero. That works really, really well. So this lady does a good job, and there's some chemistry between them, I guess. But I just don't understand the take on it because if you're going to choose an older Lois Lane, well, then they should be well established, right? Because he's
Well,
not
I
going to
would
age like her. He's not going to age like her.
right. Well, he's not gonna age
So
at all, really. Um,
potentially, depending on the Superman take.
right.
But I
Here's
just
my
don't get
take
it.
on it. My take stays the same. It'll never change. I don't like domesticated Superman. I don't think it works. I think you lose a big part of what makes the character work when you turn him into just a regular dad. He's not human. This
Yeah,
is
no,
their
I get
attempt
your
to
point.
humanize him. I get the thing with Lois and the flirting and the will they won't the aspect of it. And I get all that. And I'm fine with this Superman, which is what Smallville effectively did. Superman retires, he ends up with her and has a family. If he does retire, which I don't think he ever would, but let's say he does for some reason. Uh, I'm fine with that. I'm not fine with the idea that Superman, as a father, as a character, would intentionally put himself in danger when he was an orphan. That doesn't make sense to me. It's the same reason why Robert Downey Jr.'s sacrifice at the end of Endgame is stupid. It's dumb. He just left his daughter without a father. He knows what that's like, and he just did it to his own kid. And we're supposed to celebrate this as it was if it was brave. No, that was a piece of shit thing to do. Period. I get that they wrote it that way because they wanted to round out his story, whatever. But take a step back from it and analyze it. That's a piece of shit thing to do, and his daughter would have every right to be pissed at him for it.
Yep.
He abandoned her.
Yeah, let the Hulk do
Superman
it.
wouldn't do the same thing. Yeah, exactly. Superman wouldn't do the same thing. That's my point. Superman's character doesn't make sense as a dad. It just doesn't. I get some people like it, especially guys who are dads, and they I get all that, and that's fine. But I'm talking about from a character perspective. Superman as a character doesn't make sense in that role unless it's with somebody else who's also super powered because he's putting them in danger. That's why he
Yeah,
never pursues Lois in the original comics, really, because he knows he'd be putting her in danger.
right.
And she's
Well,
always in danger anyway, but you get my point.
sure. Alpha Proto, I do remember the 1950s series with Reeves in it. But also remember in the 50s, although they looked like they were 60, they were probably 22.
Right,
So, but yeah, and you say she's 34. I said she's almost 40. So,
right. Yeah,
she
no,
looks
she should
she
be in
just
her
looks old.
she should be like 26, 27. I think, would be a
I
good
would,
age for Lois.
and especially if you go to do this kind of cub reporter,
Yes,
this kind of thing, because she should be very well established. It takes me back how old she looks. She's just
right.
really old looking woman. But it sounds like she does a good acting job, which is cool.
Which is good.
Yeah.
I hope that part is good. I'll do this part because, this is the part that I'm not happy about. Nicholas Holt as Lex Luthor. I like Nicholas Holt a lot. He's a really good actor. He's not Lex Luthor though. The YouTuber adds in the comments that while the first Superman trailer didn't come off too well, the subsequent trailer got it right. He's pretty good actually. The YouTuber says about that. It's apparently that's all he's got to say about him. I will say this: his performance looks okay from what I've seen, but he just doesn't have it. He's not an alpha male. He's not the man who thinks he's the alpha male of the species like Lex does. He just isn't that guy. He isn't. Look at him. That's
No,
not that guy. He's just not. And
we
I can't cross that bridge. I'm sorry. I
no,
can't.
we've never got a proper Lex Luthor ever
No.
outside of the animated
No.
series. We haven't.
Yes.
No.
Which was our boy Clancy
I
voicing him
mean,
with the deepest, greatest bass of all time.
right.
So,
Now, I love Gene Hackman, but he ain't no Lex
no,
Luthor.
no, no.
And we just never had anything. They always put them because they want him to be like the original Lex Luthor in the comic, which was a scientist. I think it was a redhead actually.
Yep.
He's a scrawny little scientist. They always want to lean on that instead of what the evolution of Superman, what he became. Lex Luthor is a humanist. He
Yeah.
is about the
Human
perfection.
supremacist.
Yes, he is a human supremacist. He is about the perfection of the human experience, both
That's right.
mentally, physically, and spiritually.
Yep.
Lex is a maniac when it comes to keeping himself in shape,
Yep.
educating himself, and philosophical understanding. Matter of
He is
fact,
a true Renaissance man. He's
he
just
is.
evil. He has no
he
moral
well,
compass
he is.
at
Yeah.
all. Yeah.
And they've never given us that. We always get the
Never.
angsty little, little scientist guy.
Yeah. Or
So
the like in Smallville, the spoiled little brat,
spoiled
basically.
little brat. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, the
And
worst
Lex
one
isn't
I
that.
well, the worst one I've seen was in Batman versus Superman. That was bad.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Don't even just don't remind
Yeah,
me. I that movie, what an abortion of a film. What an abortion
so
of a
bad.
film.
And
But no, again, I like Nicholas Holt a lot. Every other thing I've seen him in, he does fine. I think he's a great actor. I don't think this is going to hurt him in any way. It might actually be a benefit for him, depending on how well this movie does. But he's just not Lex Luthor. He's just not. I can't cross the bridge. I want to, but I can't. Can't do it. Can't do it.
yeah, you want to read this one here?
Sure. The takeaway. Oh no. Oh no. That top line. The takeaway. James Gunn's Superman is Rocky Balboa. Ooh. So the real takeaway, according to the insider, is that if you're into comics, you'll likely enjoy what Gunn did with the movie. However, if you're expecting a traditional Superman flick, even something like the Christopher Reeve films, you may be disappointed, as it sounds like Gunn's film is more on the comedy side of things.
Yeah.
No, no shit. Either way, the movie reportedly goes all in on Gunn's vision, for better or worse. The YouTuber compares Gunn's Superman to Rocky. It reminded me, sorry, clear my throat, when the source was telling me about this of that Rocky scene, when he says it's not about how hard you get hit, it's about how well you then get up. Well, that's he butchered that, but yeah,
He did.
says the
Yep.
YouTuber.
Yep.
That's not a bit that part is okay because that yes, that's part of Superman. He's tenacious, he's resilient, he doesn't give up. Okay. The problem is this is our first look at this Superman. We don't need to see him getting his ass kicked all the time.
Which is
That's
sounds like
bad.
what we're getting. Yeah.
Yes, that's bad writing. You can't introduce your main character of your new franchise and show him be a little bitch. I'm sorry.
Well,
You can't. It'd be like an Iron Man if at the end Obadiah Stane's kicking his ass the whole time. Like, what are we
well,
doing?
if you
No.
pay attention to what Gunn does, his heroes are always failing and getting their ass kicked. They need
Yes.
help, right? And that's why
Yes.
there's so many other heroes in the movie because he can't do it alone. I mean,
Which is ridiculous.
think about everything that Gunn does. That's how he does heroes.
Star
With
Lord's the same way. Thor, or not Thor, but Star Lord's the same way. Every time he touches one,
Yep,
that's what they are.
Peacemaker. Yep.
There's some kind of defective at
Yeah,
right, and they
there's
can't get it
something
done on their
wrong
own.
with them.
Yeah,
And that's just what he does. And I like saying in a certain situation that could be fun. Um,
but
but
it's not Superman.
no, it's not. Alf Proto says that they were actually thinking about Nicholas Hoult being Superman himself during the auditions, which is interesting. I think we might have actually covered that.
Yep.
But
Chester, in the chat up here in Discord, let me see where it's at. It's a Twitter thing, so it should be okay to play it. There's a scene, I'll relink it. There's a scene that's from the movie
uh,
of Superman barging into Luthor's office.
okay.
Go ahead and check that out. I just put it in the general chat of the Discord. Um, just tell me what you think.
Lex, I tried to stop him.
It's fine, Mother. Superman, we finally meet. Would you like a coffee?
Where's the dog?
Dog?
The dog, loser! You took the dog!
That's right, Eve. Get all of this.
Where's the dog?
Oh, this is
I
bad,
have
dude.
no clue what you're talking about.
He's just a dog.
I don't know what dog you're talking about. Ugly dog and a cape?
What did you say?
Oh, yeah, that's gonna be.
Um, this is bad, dude.
Superman,
This is really, really, really bad.
dog.
The dog,
Yeah.
loser! You took the dog!
That's right.
Holy
It is.
shit, dude. First of all, I hate this type of Lex Luthor. I hate it. Lex Luthor would not do this. Lex Luthor would tell him directly, "Yeah, I've killed your fucking dog." Lex
Basically, yeah,
Luthor,
he'd mock him.
he'd mock him. He wouldn't lie like this because he would consider it to be bad form for a human, right?
Right.
But worse than that, Superman being that outraged. What?
Yes. Yes. Without any outside influence, like if there's kryptonite involved, okay, whatever. So
Well,
from what
red
we
like
see
red
here, this is
kryptonite.
just,
Yeah,
this is just him angry. Okay.
it's not
Superman
Superman,
shouldn't get
dude.
this angry. Superman doesn't get angry to the point where he's breaking things, because if he does, he breaks planets. He breaks reality if he wants to.
That
That's
is
not who he is.
really not right.
Yeah.
Why do we
That
get
that was my
so
original
many
takeaway.
assholes that don't understand the characters that of the stories they want to
Oh,
tell?
no. This one should be so easy. Because here's the thing. You can't have it both ways, people. People will say Superman's a boring character. Okay, then the movie should be easy to make. If he's so boring in one note, make that movie then. Where is it? Why haven't I seen it? Why haven't I seen it since the 1970s? Why? If it's so boring, that means it's easy to make. That means there's not complexity. Oh, wait a minute. Well, why can't they make that movie then? Why can't they? Because they haven't. The closest we got to that was that Bryan Singer movie, and that was ass.
Yeah, it wasn't. That was
They
that was not good, dude. No, I'd say the
no,
closest we got it to it was Henry Cavill, in the original
well,
Man of
yeah,
Steel. It was just it had a few issues
yeah.
because
But my
there were a
point
lot of
is,
great things in that movie, actually.
this shouldn't be this hard. Superman's about 100 years old as a character. I think he's 90 something years old as a character. There are a litany of great Superman stories from that entire run that you could tell, that you could adapt very easily
Yeah,
if you wanted to. And maybe
yeah.
he's trying to. I don't know. But why has nobody been able to successfully pull it off? Not in a video game, not in a movie, nothing. This idea, and I think I actually know the answer. This is a rhetorical question. It's because so many people don't know anything about Superman.
Yeah,
They know about the cultural force of Superman in that he's supposedly invincible and he's he's not. Superman's not invincible.
no,
He just isn't. He's very tough. He's very, very hard to hurt, but he can be hurt. He has multiple weaknesses, not just kryptonite. He can be defeated straight up in a fight. It's happened many times.
Oh yeah.
So there's no reason to make that excuse. But because so many people expect that, what happens is you either get people like Gunn, who's an asshole, or you get people who are making a sincere effort. I think Snyder was making a sincere effort. I do. He just, because everybody gets caught in this false illusion of what Superman is, you have to do things that don't make any sense.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, because the character's betraying itself. He's trying to be this super Boy Scout, altruistic, stoic, in control, blah 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 blah. But then people are like, but that's boring. Well, the only reason you think that's boring is because everything around him enforces that it's boring. If you give him good stuff going on around him to where his reaction is the abnormal, his reaction is what makes him so special, like the first movie does, the Christopher Reeve movie does, even though he does lose his temper at the end, which granted the love of his life just died. Um, even though that does happen, up until that point, that's what Superman is. He is the calm oak tree in the storm, right? Everything's
Yeah.
blowing around, going crazy around him, and he's calm. He's under control.
Yeah.
He's salvation. He's hope. He's that steadying presence. And they've never gotten it right except for that first film, I don't think. Man of Steel kind of does a little bit, but there's still just too much bullshit
There is.
of that portion of what makes the character work. You want him to
Right.
be exciting, you want him to work, that's the one you have to bring. A great example is Superman versus the Elite, the animated movie. Superman versus the Elite. The end fight there, where he basically just starts beating their ass because he's had enough of them. That is a great example of what I'm talking about. He never raises his voice. He never goes, he pretends like he's going crazy, but he's under complete control the whole time.
Oh yeah, the one where he was dealing with that group. Yeah, I know what you're talking
Yes,
about.
Manchester Black and all those guys. That's a good movie. But it shows that Superman is under control. There's another example from the
Very.
animated series where he fights Darkseid, and he's a little bit happy because he can actually fight somebody. He gets to let loose.
Yeah.
He says, I feel like I live in a world of cardboard. Yes. Superman doesn't get to smash through a door and flip a table
No, he
and do all
doesn't.
of that
He
because
doesn't.
it's too dangerous.
It is.
He doesn't get to scream at the top of his lungs in someone's face because he would explode their head.
Yeah.
He'd have
No,
killed Lex Luthor there if he did that. He'd be dead.
he would have. Yeah, and of course, if you had a sigh of fatigue from Superman,
Yes.
meaning having to deal with your
Frustration. Like,
bullshit, sure. But
right.
but that's about it. I mean, he's always in control, which is
What
one of the
should
reasons
piss
why he
Lex
and
off
Batman get
is that.
along so well. Yeah,
Exactly. They're
very
kindred
similar.
spirits.
Yeah.
That's why Lex should hate him, is because he can't rile him. The fact that he did rile him, Lex just won. He just won right there.
Yeah.
That's him winning. He
That's
knows he can't kill him,
well,
at least so far. That's him winning. He beat Superman. He beat the
sure.
idea of Superman.
Well, the whole point was to capture that for SNS, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that was the point.
It's just
Yeah, no, this is a very frustrating article, and like I said, this Tachyon Pulse guy, I think he's young, and but I think there's a lot of honesty in his commentary here, and
yes.
it's not good. It's not good,
The,
and
the the main takeaway from all of this is the one thing that it said right at the beginning, that you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it.
yeah,
That is not Superman. I'm sorry,
no,
but he's not divisive. And
no,
if you make a movie that is divisive, which is why Man of Steel doesn't work, you lost the plot.
you did,
You just
and this, I have a feeling this movie's going to bomb hardcore, which is
I
a
hope so.
shame. you
I
know,
hate to say that, but I hope so because I don't want more of this. I
it
don't want
is.
more of this. I
It's.
don't want to see him try and do Super Dad. I don't want to see him try and make him have a family, and they'll probably try and bring in the gay kid. I don't want any of that. Just
Oh,
stop.
I
Just stop.
guarantee you they're just foaming at the mouth to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But whatever. I don't want to talk about this anymore because it's upsetting.
It
Anyway,
is
let's have some good news, shall we?
infuriating. This is great news. This is the news of
Yes.
the week. Taika
Yes.
Waititi, Mr. Cohen, David Cohen, let's call him by his real name.
Yeah.
David Cohen's Akira movie canceled as Warner Brothers loses the rights. First of all, this is a great headline from two different angles. Mr. Cohen will not be touching Akira. That's awesome. And
Yes.
nor will Warner Brothers. That's
Yes.
also awesome.
That is also
this is a
awesome.
win for
It's a
everybody
win-win.
involved.
Yeah.
Yep.
Alfredo seems to think he says I think it's going to do good. Oh God, you know an English teacher, right? Um, you all are talking from perspective of people who know Superman. Most people don't know Superman. Fair enough.
That's true. That's true.
Fair
It
enough.
probably will make some money, but I don't think it's gonna be what they think it's gonna be. And I think that will be kind of the beginning of the end because I still think Warner Brothers is trying to get sold. They've been trying for a while. Um, and I have a feeling this whole DCU project will end up getting scrapped if this doesn't hit huge. I have a feeling.
Yeah. No, I think Hellrod is always picking. I think it looks good. Well, some of it looks good. I don't like the look of Clark Kent. I don't like the look of Guy Gardner. But there are some aspects of it, like the robots, which sound like they're very irritating, actually look pretty good. I mean, there's some things that
I'll
look
say
good.
this: Crypto looks good. I think he did a good job with Crypto. That's a pretty good
That's
adaptation
his
of Crypto.
dog.
Yeah, I know, but he looks okay. Looks okay.
He should
Um,
be a Labrador Retriever, a white one.
I I agree with you, but since he's not, I think they did an okay job. From what I've seen of him, he's got enough of the personality of Crypto. So he might actually pull Crypto off, which is surprising because when I first heard about Crypto, I was like, oh no. Oh no.
Yeah.
Don't do this to me. Don't bring Crypto in. Don't do it. Um, it's just gosh. Anyway, some good news. Akira is done. It's not happening. They got old Cohen's fingers off of it, and it
They
will
did.
not be happening now. Thank the Lord above, the Lord of hosts.
Yeah.
Thank him for this blessing, because that's what it is.
Yes. However, there is this section here that you should read.
Kodansha? Is that how you say that? Now
Kodansha.
shopping the rights around the rights around. I don't know what happened there. The Akira rights have now reverted back to manga publisher Kodansha, who first put out the story back in 1982.
Hmm.
THR says Kodansha is now shopping Akira around to other studios and streamers. I could see it ending up
Yeah.
at Netflix or Amazon. Now, I will say this. I'll read the rest in a second. Netflix could be okay under one condition, and that is if they create enough creative control for veto power. The only way they've been able to make anything related to a manga or anime that was good, Netflix, was the One Piece one, and maybe a couple others, but the One Piece one for sure, the live action, is really good. But the only reason it is really good is because Oda had final and complete authority over everything.
Right.
He got to watch every scene. They would send him the the whatever it's called, the raws
Dailies.
of it.
Dailies.
Yes, he would watch them, and if he'd said no, they went and reshot it. Period. Done. That's why it worked. That's the only way it could work at Netflix. Amazon is a crapshoot. Sometimes it's awesome, sometimes it's dog shit. You just don't know what you're gonna get. You just don't.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the thing. As Akira will be a big budget sci-fi spectacle, and both these streamers have big pocketbooks, while movie studios have been suffering. Apple could also be another contender, as they have a boatload of money, they do, and like to release quality science fiction on Apple TV Plus. I have no idea what's on Apple TV. I don't have an
No,
Apple device,
me
and I have no
either.
desire to have an Apple device. I hear there's some good stuff over there, but I can't be bothered.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to that at all. Alpha says the Akira project needs to follow the manga, not the movie. I agree. The movie was made before the manga was finished. Actually, what I want is a series. That's what I want. I don't want a one-shot movie. I want a series. It goes in and follows the manga because the manga is actually better than the movie. And because I've read it, but the thing with it is it needs to be as hard hitting as possible. What is
Yes,
the root of Akira? Everyone goes on about the blooming of human psychic ability. That's not
right.
the root of the story, dude. Akira is about a bunch of poor kids living in a ghetto
Hmm.
trying to survive day to day, dealing with all the depravity, criminality, and bullshit that is around them, and the police are just as much of a problem for them as are the criminals about them because they are criminals themselves. That's what it's about. That's the heart of the story. And then, of course, Tetsuo and his buddy getting into it in the end. It's all stemming from their stress and difficulty from being street kids
Right.
effectively. And that's really needs to capture that. And therefore, you need to have the dirty, rotten nastiness of a ghetto. And I just don't know that any of those studios will allow it.
Well, since it's a fictional setting, they might they might be able to get away with it. We'll see. Meaning, what I mean by fictional is it's not it's a what's the word I'm looking exaggerated version of reality.
Yeah.
Um, so they might be able to get away with it in that regard. But I just we don't need this. Nobody
Well,
should
no,
want this. It's
no,
it's it's
we
there. Go watch it. It holds up.
yeah,
It's
or
fine.
read the manga.
Yeah,
I
just don't
you
want this.
it would have to be handled with kid gloves because it needs to have abuse in it. It needs to have rape in it.
Yep.
It needs to have drug use in it. It needs this
Yes, needs
because
to be
the
dark.
ending means something,
Right.
right? A lot of people misunderstood that movie. It has nothing to do with the Akira project. It's not really the point, you
Hmm.
know. It's about I can't remember the other kid's name. You got Tetsuo and what's the other kid's name?
Is it Canada? Is that the one you're thinking of? Canada. Yeah, I
Kaneda
always think
and
Canada.
and Tetsuo. It's about them coming to head of their relationship and
Right.
Tetsuo just losing his shit and being sick of it and just wanting to win once in his life, right? That's what it really comes down to. And it's a really good story in that regard. Now it's got a little bit of the psionic aspect to it. It's got the kids in the program, the Akira program, that they're part of it, and of course you have that big ending with the Akira project. But it's not the heart of it. And I just can't see a modern studio letting it be as gritty and grimy as it needs to be. Because now with men, they might show something, the something that is lewd or inappropriate, but the females they won't. But it's kind of important,
Right.
like the attempted rape of one of their female members of their group is kind of a pivotal kickoff to how Tetsuo got himself in the situation anyway, right?
Right.
Of them, and of course, this movie also has murder in it. I don't mean killing; I mean murder, right? The
Right.
story, it's brutal, and it should be. And if someone can handle it the way it should be handled, as brutal and just dirty as possible, you could have a hit on your hands because but we know how they sanitize everything these days. They're like a bunch of Puritans. Anyway,
Yes.
good news though. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, get him out of here. He has no business on a movie like this.
Fuck that guy straight, man.
Yeah. Somebody needs to.
Well, he's such a prick.
He is.
He's such a smug, egotistical prima donna. I can't stand that guy. Anyway, moving on before I get
Moving
angry.
on. He's
Here's
gonna get angry
another
at David.
here's another
Leave
good
David
bit of
alone.
news.
Sony pauses Spider-Man spin-off universe. Null movie canceled. Well, that last bit is fantastic news. The spin-off universe is also good news because you can't even call it a spin-off universe when Spider-Man's not in any of it.
Well, yeah, and do understand that this headline doesn't really give you all the information. It seems to be focusing most on the Null movie, which they introduced Null at the end of the last Venom movie, and but keep in mind Null is ultra cosmic.
Yes,
That's
way beyond
ultra
anything they're doing.
way beyond, right? It's so I don't know why you want to get in that water anyway. However, it's not just that. All of it, dude. Every spin-off they had planned, everything that doesn't have Spider-Man in it directly has been canceled. Everything.
Good. Good.
It's wonderful. Yeah, it's wonderful. Um,
Isn't it
uh,
wonderful?
because they just can't. They're not doing it well. Um,
No.
honestly, the only one I saw that I actually enjoyed was was it not Morpheus? Mo-
Mobius.
Mobius or
Morbius.
Morbius,
Yeah.
Morbius, and
Yeah.
of course everyone seemed to hate that movie. But I thought that was a nice throwback to '60s sci-fi, actually. But the Venom movies all suck. I don't care what any of you say; they suck
Yeah, they're
balls.
terrible.
Tom
They're
Hardy
terrible.
was a wrong choice, and I like him, but he was the wrong choice. This this Madam Web thing, it's like they don't even understand the character at all. What the hell? Craven would have been a great Tarzan movie.
Okay.
Well, what does that have to do with Craven? Um, yeah, they just don't know what they're doing. They're completely inept over at Sony, completely. And
Yeah.
honestly, the Spider-Man stuff is only working because of their collaboration. And to be fair, the vast majority of the Spider-Man movies aren't great.
No.
They're really
The
not.
first one is okay.
The
That's
second one is the best.
mostly carried by Michael Keaton as the Vulture, in
Oh
my
no,
opinion.
I'm talking about Tobey Maguire.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, no, those are great. The first one I really like, obviously, mostly just because my boy's being the best villain of all time. He's in my opinion, his Green Goblin's up there with Darth Vader. I said it. I said it right to your
Oh,
face.
he's
He's
great.
amazing.
He's wonderful.
Um, but then you go into the second movie with Doc Ock, and he does a great
So
job
good.
too. As
So
Doc Ock.
good, dude, that movie.
The
Um,
third one we won't talk about, but
no.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I rewatched part of most of that. I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 months ago. I'm gonna tell you right to your face, it's better than any of these movies. Any of them. Well, I haven't
It
seen
is.
Mobius, so I can't say that for certain, but the
Honestly,
rest of them, yep,
yeah, no, there's a couple of scenes they just needed to cut out of that. And they would
yes,
get it was too busy, it was the problem. But
yes.
the middle guy who played, I didn't like his stuff at all. Because he's not Peter
Andrew
Parker
Garfield.
at all.
No, he's
Um, and
way too cool to be Peter Parker. That's not
and
Peter Parker.
well, the kind of problem with Tom Holland is so is he.
Yeah, he's too pretty, that's for sure.
Yeah,
A little pretty boy. No, Toby was perfect. That was they
he
didn't want to
was
cast him
perfect.
either. I was like, "Oh, you guys are out of your
He's
mind."
older. Yeah,
He's perfect.
yeah.
Um, he
Well,
just
he
has
killed
that
the interview, is why.
he's got that look, right? He's got that I'm not he's not ugly, but he's not attractive. He's just normal. He's got a
Yeah,
very normal
as he
face.
should be.
uh, He's got a normal build. He's not this big monster of a guy, and but he can fucking act. Tobey Maguire's a great actor.
Yeah, he is.
And he just killed it. He's by far the best Spider-Man we've had, and I would say even in but for me the three best Spider-Man movies are the first one, the second one, and then the last one, in my opinion. And even in that movie, he's probably the best part of the whole thing. Well, obviously besides Willem Dafoe, but come on. I mean, that's of course Willem Dafoe steals the show. He steals every show he's ever been in.
And the guy who played
He's in the
Doc Ock.
Northman walking around. Yeah, he's in the Northman walking around. Alfred Molina. He's in the Northman walking around all naked, barking like a dog, and he steals that.
He
So I
does.
don't
He
like the
does.
man just doesn't
Yeah.
lose. He doesn't lose.
Yeah, the most recent Spider-Man one, we've talked about it. I'm not going to knock it, but it is much more of a child's film, though.
Yes, which is,
Whereas the
in my
original
opinion, what it
Toby,
should be.
yeah, that's fine. But the Toby Maguire stuff is more family universal, I think.
Yes, I agree. I think
Anyway,
Spider-Man. We were talking earlier about the humanization of Superman and why that's wrong. You don't need to humanize Superman because you have Spider-Man. That's the point. Is he's the everyman. Even though he's a genius, he's got superpowers. That's why he works because of so many other
sure,
things.
but he's in over his head all the time.
Yes,
I mean, the very
as you would be.
first, as you would be. I mean, the very first Steve Ditko stuff literally had him trapped, collapsed in a collapsed ceiling underground. I mean,
Yes,
it's not Superman at all. It's very different. He's an everyman character, and he works really well. Uh, now, this doesn't necessarily mean that we won't get a Nick Cage Spider-Man noir, however,
we
because that
should get that.
is
The world
Spider-Man.
needs that.
The world needs that. Yes, it
And you know
does.
what? I think we deserve it, Chester. I
We
think
do.
we've been good. We deserve it.
Yeah. Honestly, I think they should just do an animated version of that.
They should do honestly what they should do. I'm not even being funny. They should do an animated series of it with him as the voice.
Yeah.
Put it on one of the big streamers, pay him a bunch of money, and let's just party.
Yeah. Because a lot of their reimagining of a lot of the characters are really cool.
Yeah.
Because they go more supernatural, right, with it.
Right.
in the Noir series, and I'd love to see it. But do animated. Nick's a bit too old. Let's be fair. Do an
Yeah.
animated thing. Let him voice it. When we saw him in the Spider Verse movie, he was the biggest hit of it. I would love to see that. But anyway, this is more good news because, yeah, enough of that. However, this right here is sad.
Go ahead and read that. I'm away from my screen.
Megan 2.0, a massive misfire bombing at the box office. Now, the first one was, it's a very standard robot gone bad horror movie. It's nothing unique about it, but it worked.
Right.
It worked. It made sure that it wasn't Chucky female version. Did itself different enough. There's nothing unique about it, but it was fine. It was a fun little popcorn horror movie. So you had success with the first movie. So you're the director and the producer. So what do you do? Well, let's make a second one. Let's spend a lot more money on it. Let's take Megan, who was like a little ballerina girl, the actress they used for the body, and
Right.
let's just make her an adult. Okay. And let's take all the horror elements out of it completely and just make it a quirky little sci fi movie.
Um,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? If I'm the head of the studios that got to sign off on this,
Yeah.
no.
No. How about no?
That's
How,
the answer to that.
how
Just we're
about
not doing any of
How
that.
about no? But no, that's exactly what they did. They took a successful little horror movie that made good money for a horror movie, and
It did,
they took all the horror
and it's
out,
pretty good.
made it a goofy little sci-fi, and aged up the quirky, one of the more interesting quirky characters. You see
They
her
basically
body.
made it Terminator.
Yeah, and of course Megan now is the good guy instead of the evil, which is what she is.
Yeah.
And at the end of the first movie, there's no reason to think she would come back any different. She is the bad guy. Matter of fact, they had an end scene that kind of, codified that. So it's dumb. She's the good guy. They've given her a bunch of upgrades. She's much more powerful, and she's facing another evil adult woman, as you can see here. But it's like, one of the fun little quirky things of it is she's a little girl. The body is
Right.
anyway. It's a robot, but I mean that was kind of one of the little fun things about it. It was because a little girl body bad guy is deceptive, right? And it can work really well. Like you had that movie with the that had the great twist in it. What was the name of that? Had the little girl was adopted, but she's not a little girl. What movie was that? I can't remember the name of it, but that was a fun little horror movie.
Mhm.
Of course, another thing I really hated was them taking Wednesday Adams and aging her up. It's like,
Yeah.
no. What made her interesting and cool is the little girl being evil and sadistic. That's the joke. That's the point,
Mhm.
right? Same thing with this. Now it's just another adult female robot. Who gives a shit? Right? And of
Yep.
course, they're paying for it because this thing is bombing hard. And we're going to take a look at that at the end, of course. But it's what a shame, dude. What a shame. You have a success and you throw everything out the window that made it a success and say, you know what? We know better. We're going to make our movie better and we're going to take all the things you loved out of it. Here,
I
unbelievable.
think I think I nailed it. I think they really wanted to do a Terminator on this because if you remember, the first Terminator is a horror movie, right?
Sure.
Uh, a horror action movie, and then the second one is very much there's still horror elements, but it's still very much just an action movie. Uh, and I think that's was their thinking. They were going to Terminator
Maybe.
2 this, but
Yeah,
they
they
didn't.
failed. Yeah.
Terminator 2 is one of the best movies ever made. Not just it
So
might be the best sequel ever made, actually. Uh, but not
I
because
wouldn't disagree with that at all. Yeah.
yeah, it's I mean, it's right at the top. Not because of
Small
anything
wonder.
else.
That's funny, Alan.
It's just is what it is. You're like I think Elrod over here said lightning in a bottle for the first Megan. Yeah,
Yeah.
and what they were trying to do with with what they were trying to ape with the second one was also lightning in a bottle. Name the other good Terminator movie besides the first two.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Exactly.
You're right.
Yeah. Exactly.
100%. Yeah. But
Yeah,
Elrod says they tried to turn Megan into Freddy, who became a goofy cartoon as the movies went along, and a lot of people enjoy that aspect of Freddy Krueger.
yeah.
But yeah, it's a shame. Like I said, the first one was fun, and it had some interesting quirk to it, but they threw it all out the window, dude. They threw it all out the window, and they're paying for it. So it is what it is. Let's move along here to. Oh, I swear to God, dude. Are you back?
I don't even want to read it. I don't even want to read it, Chester. I'll read it. Give me a second. Give me a second. I don't want to scream at it. No Henry Cavill for James Bond. Tom Holland, Jacob Elordi, and Harrison Dickinson rumored. First of
Uh-oh.
all, okay. All right. Listen, I don't hate Tom Holland. I don't. I think he's fine when he's in his lane. His lane is not. His lane is not. His lane is not
No,
masculine idol.
no,
It's not.
no,
He's not even
no.
close. He's not even in the conversation.
unless you want
He's
to
not even
really,
in the top. Look at
unless you want to really cucked out James Bond.
yeah, unless they're going to put about 50 pounds of muscle and 3 or 4 inches of height on him. No, he's a little twink, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. Be what you are, Tom. Kill it. Make all your money. Be big and famous. I love you for it. Good job, buddy. But you're not James Bond,
No,
and you never will be.
no, no. So that's Tom Holland, and I think universally everyone agrees. No, no, no,
No, we'll
no.
be knowing that. I don't even know who these
Uh,
other two are.
no. So this guy, this is the Harry Dixon here. Uh, oof.
Well, that's an ugly individual. He's not a handsome man. His
That
one
is
eye is
not.
googly compared to his other eye. He's got one good eye. His other eye's a mess.
Yeah,
It looks like he looks like AI.
he
Like what am I
already,
looking at?
as young as he is, he already has giant Dumbo ears. His jaw is unsymmetrical. It's an ugly dude. Now he's an actor, and I'm sure there's plenty of things he's really well suited for. He might be a very good actor, but
Yes.
He doesn't scream James Bond at all, dude. Now keep in
No.
mind they want to have a young James Bond. They and I
Why?
have well because have you seen the video game? We talked about it a little bit. The video game has cucked out James Bond 100%, made him a little teeny kid, a little like the chat says twink, and yeah, that video game is an absolute disaster. By the way, I think that's what they're going for. So Tom Holland actually fits the bill best for what they did with this video game, right? And of
Yeah, of
course they race swapped everybody.
course they did.
Anyway, he's just way too ugly to be James Bond. Nothing against you, buddy. This fella right here, I figure his name was Jacob
He's
Elordi. He's an Australian kid.
he is Australian.
He's not bad looking kid.
No, he's okay. He's
He's
okay. He
fit.
doesn't but the problem is while he is a handsome guy, he's not the same thing Daniel Craig problem is, but he was more so than him. James isn't supposed to be the most handsome man in any room. James is supposed to be he's good looking, but he's ruggedly handsome, and charismatic as shit.
Yes.
That's what James is supposed to be. This is why our boy, the man, let may rest in peace, Mr. Connery was perfect.
Yeah,
Because
he's
yes, he's
perfect.
handsome, he's got great features, but he's not like the type of guy that women are just gonna. If he wasn't Sean Connery and had his charisma and his voice and his aura, if he was just a normal accountant somewhere, women aren't gonna throw themselves at that guy. They're just
Yeah.
not.
Well,
But because of his charisma, they will. This guy doesn't. And maybe he does when he's talking and moving around, but to me, he just kind of looks like a douchebag.
yeah.
A good-looking one, but a douchebag.
And of course, keep in mind with James, he does have a lot of charisma and he can talk his way into any bed. But at the same
Yeah,
time, when it comes right down to it, he'll put a gun at your head and put a hole through it
he will kill you
without
dead and not
hesitation.
and not feel bad about it
Without
later.
hesitation, not even blink
Yeah,
about it. This is an
that's right.
important aspect. And to be fair, the James Bond character is not incredibly realistic. He is way more handsome and standouty than he should be,
Yeah,
which is why they went with Daniel Craig because they wanted a kind of more realistic spy. But
right.
that's not James Bond. James Bond is very charismatic, handsome dude. It's full of little gadgets and quirky little things and bad guys with stupid names. It's fun.
Yes,
It's an adventure.
that's right.
It's not
It's a
serious
fantasy.
spy drama, dude. And that's why the
No,
Daniel Craig movies suck balls.
yeah,
Whereas if you want to make a Bourne identity, okay, fine, but that's not James Bond.
which is what they did. That's what they wanted to do with James Bond after the Bourne movies. Um, no, the only answer, unless somebody's got no, get him out of here.
I'm gonna
Unless
leave it
somebody's
there.
got some ace up their sleeve somewhere for a brilliant English actor who is a very handsome man and has. Here's the thing with Henry. Henry is obviously a very handsome man. Everyone would agree, but he can pull off rugged.
Yeah, you
He's
can.
got just the right amount of features to him that, like, that's why Geralt worked. I'll
Yeah,
be honest. Every woman I've talked to, well, not every woman, but a lot of women I've talked to, they don't like him as much in his clean cut look. They loved him as Geralt. Loved him. They were
yeah,
creaming their shorts, seeing him with that long hair and that dirtiness and that scruffiness. They love that. That's what James is kind of supposed to be. He puts himself together, but he's supposed to be a little bit more rugged than we've even
right.
ever even seen.
And this
And
this little
Henry can
kid,
kill it.
he can't be rugged at all. I
No,
don't know about this guy, and this guy, he's just unattractive. He's an ugly
he's not
dude.
a handsome guy.
No.
No, it needs to be Henry or I'm out. And I think most people are probably out. And this doesn't make any sense. It's so stupid. It's
Yeah,
so stupid. The reason why it's so stupid is because they already have Henry under contract. Amazon does. He's there.
yeah,
He's already under contract. This should be easy. But no, they're going to go out and get somebody who nobody wants to see play this character. It's going to do terribly. It's going to be like those 280s movies that didn't make any money. Um, and that'll just be
yeah.
that'll just be it
Well, even in
until they
the
learn their
original,
lesson.
even in the original Ian Fleming books, I think the very first, appearance of Bond, he's like what, 36, 38?
I believe so. Yes,
Yeah,
he's not
he's
young.
not
He's a
young.
seasoned spy. Yeah,
Yeah, he's if
he's
he
supposed
is
to be at the peak
007. Yeah,
of his career.
he's capable.
Um, yeah.
Henry is
So
perfect. He's
he
perfect.
is. He is.
I mean,
He
everybody and
is.
their brother wants to put Henry in every movie. I get it. But this particular one, he's made for it, dude.
And he was almost Bond already.
Yeah,
It was him and Daniel Craig. They went with Daniel Craig because they thought, I kid you not, they thought he was too young at the time.
yeah.
Henry. Okay, what's your excuse this time? He's 42. He's right in that sweet spot. You can get a good decade out of him with movies if you actually make the sons of bitches and stop dragging your feet. Uh, at least right up till in his 50s, that's fine. Right? Look at Sean Connery was still like fucking Roger Moore was
Yeah.
still making them at that age. That's fine. Men don't age like women, especially when they got all this makeup and everything. He's gonna look fine at 50, I promise you.
Sure.
Uh,
You get a decade
so
of movies out of him. Easy.
e- easy.
Yeah.
This is stupid. What are they trying? They're gonna have this next James Bond be James
No,
Bond for 20 years.
I'm
Is that what they're
telling
planning?
you what they're doing is this. The video game that just came out that race swaps everybody and literally cucks James Bond out at every opportunity possible. It's ultra woke. That's what they want to do. That's what's
Okay,
happening. That's why they've gone with all these young dudes.
let them.
They and to be fair, from that video game which we talked about, and I've seen all the conversation around it. Tom Holland is the perfect choice for that cucked out, as you said, twink version of James Bond.
Yeah,
He is perfect because they make him small. He's very young, and he gets bossed around by all the ladies. He's not a ladies' man. He is a cuck, literally,
yeah.
because they have to
No,
solve that problem with James Bond. You see,
it this is dumb.
it is dumb.
This is the wrong decision. It's the wrong decision all the way around. The only way I could say it's okay is if Henry turned it down, but I don't think he would because he wanted to
Well,
play James Bond. Like I said, he was number 2 in line, and they picked Daniel.
well, they said
Uh,
he's working on his Highlander film, and that's why he couldn't do it.
yeah, but come on,
I don't
come
believe it. I
on.
don't believe
I
it.
don't buy
If
that
they
for a
wanted
second.
it, they would. It would have made it. So everyone involved would have made it happen.
Yeah,
But I don't know. It is what it is. It's a shame because of everything that people want to throw Henry in. That's the one that they really should do, right?
yep.
He's clearly a new Bond. But then again, we've seen Bond for so long. Maybe we could just, stop.
We could just stop. We kind of did it. We kind of did it.
Yeah.
I mean, they basically did with Daniel Craig for what, 12 years, I think it
Oh
was,
yeah, and
between
they've
movies.
it's been going on for decades and decades and decades, dude. Maybe it's enough. Maybe we can just leave it
Maybe
on
it
the
is.
floor. How about that?
Maybe it is. Maybe it's time for James Bond to retire. We've all advocated that we know what they want to do. They're obviously trying to get another scalp. We all know it. Everybody knows it. That's what this
That's
is about.
true. That's true. They already
But
did, really.
I would be fine if they wanted to make a movie set in that universe with a different double O
Sure.
agent.
Double O
I
nine,
don't know why it hasn't happened before, to be honest
double
with
O
you.
eight,
Yeah,
right?
where's the other double O's? Who's 001? Who is it? Let's see him.
Well, we
Is he a
know who
badass?
we
Why is he
know who
number
Double
one?
O One is. His name was John D.
Yes,
The
but
original.
we could see him.
Yeah.
We could
We
see him.
could. Sure.
Why
You
not?
go back to the Elizabethan age and you could do that. But yeah, no, I have no problem with that. Everybody wants Idris Elba. Cool. Make him 009, dude.
Well, he's a little old now, but
He
yeah,
is,
20
but you
years
know
ago
what I
would have been
mean.
great.
Something like
Yeah,
that. I have no problem. A modern iteration with MI6. There's no reason they wouldn't have a black dude or a yellow dude or a red dude. I mean, modern times in Britain. I mean,
there should, but they have to be attractive, and it's not no gay shit. That's what makes this work.
well,
It's
you're
supposed to
asking a
be.
lot.
Apparently, it's supposed to be a male power fantasy, and I know that, as men, we don't like to admit this, but we like our heroes to look handsome. We do.
Of course we do.
We like them to be handsome, just like the women do, right? Women
Sure.
don't want to see little cuck faggy Bond. They don't. They
No,
want to
women
see a
women don't
man
want that at
in
all.
there doing
And
man shit, taking them women and
yeah,
doing
well,
what he
sure.
wants with them. That's what they
Well,
want.
men and women appreciate the same things just for different reasons, right?
Yes.
Men enjoy a handsome, fit guy because it's like, oh, cool, that dude, really look how hard that guy worked, and oh, I could get my body in that shape. But the woman's like, please make love to me for 35 days in a
Please,
row. It's
please just
this,
take me and make me yours. That's what
right?
they want.
I mean,
Yeah.
but we both appreciate the same thing, just for different
Yeah.
reasons.
Yes.
And and I I hate to tell you, but that ain't it.
No. No. There are a lot of young ladies who do like him, but they're typically either young or they're those weirdo women who get really obsessed with like teen boy singers. To like
Yeah,
they're
but
basically they want to fuck underage boys.
yeah,
Let's just
sure
call it
that
what it is.
he's a little cutie, sure, but
Yeah.
they don't want him as a man though.
No, they
It's
wouldn't
like a
want to marry him. Oh,
doll,
maybe his
dude.
money.
It's like a
Yeah,
doll.
they'd play with him a little bit,
Yeah,
but then
yeah,
they
yeah,
yeah,
but
okay.
it's not
Yeah.
about sexual attraction at
Well,
all.
they want Sean Connery.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
never
yeah.
I've never met a woman who didn't what even when he was old, like, yep, all right now, I'd kill that old man. I've heard dozens of women tell me that. Like, all right, calm down. He's old. His hip will break. Leave him alone. Damn.
Leave him be. Leave him be. Anyway, let's go over here and take a look at. We've already had conversations regarding this, but let's look at our box office mojo for today. Now, of course, the first one we talked about was F1, and like I said, the reviews are excellent. But we're opening weekend, $70 million. They only need to make another 430.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not good. That's not good.
yeah. It's just they.
Why they got to get these budgets under control. It's simple as that.
Yeah,
I don't know how they're going to do it. They are probably well, yes, I do. They're going to use AI. Once that AI gets to where they need it to be, they'll sign whatever contract they have to. It don't fucking matter. They're gonna what they'll do is they'll just offshore it where those contracts don't mean shit. And China don't care about your contracts that you signed in Hollywood. You think they give a shit? Don't give a shit. They'll just, whatever they need done with the AIs to get around paying these budgets, wherever this money's going,
yeah.
they'll get it done. Don't you worry. Don't you fret. It'll happen. Hollywood is not known for its scruples. That's not exactly what's
Sure.
they're
I'm
not known for that. Not a little bit. So
just saying it's a shame because they could have done this for under 100 million, no problem.
yeah,
They
yeah. I
definitely
don't
could have
know.
done it.
I need to know why it was so expensive. What the did you spend $500 million on?
Yeah, I think it's the laundering thing we've talked about before,
It has to
because
be
it doesn't make sense. This is
because here's the
it's
thing:
equivalent to like a full-on Avengers movie, same cost. What are you talking about, dude?
Days of Thunder. Apparently, I saw they lost money right when that came out back in the early '90s
Right.
or whatever it was. But they lost money at the box office. They didn't actually lose money on the film, from what I understand, because a lot of it was fronted by NASCAR.
Fair enough.
Why isn't F1 doing the same thing? Maybe they are, but why isn't F1 doing the same thing? Why isn't their budget largely taken care of?
Well,
Because
and
this should be, in theory,
yeah,
great marketing for
and F1's
the
got a
league.
lot of money, a lot
Oh,
of
they
money.
got money. They're not
And
hurting.
to
They're
be
not hurting.
fair, for all we know, maybe they did.
Maybe they did. That's true.
Yeah, yeah.
Hopefully they
But
did.
yeah, and of course, Days of Thunder these days has become I don't know if I put it in the category, but it's become a bit of a cult classic.
Yeah, I
A
like Days
bit
of
of
Thunder. I
one.
think it's
Yeah, I
fine.
liked it.
I think it's
And
fine.
anyone in the chat who mentions Talladega Nights will be banned immediately.
I love Talladega Nights. You hater. It's so funny. It's so stupid, but it's so funny.
Now we're in our second weekend here for How to Train Your Dragon, 200 million. Maybe they
All
might
right.
make money. Nice.
They're gonna do it, which is a shame because I
It
don't want that
is.
movie to exist.
Leo, unfortunately, is the most recent Pixar movie, and it's bombing hardcore in the second weekend. And Pixar is dead, dude. When's the last time Pixar made anything good? I mean, seriously.
A good question.
I mean, when was the last time we were talking about Steven Spielberg earlier because we were talking about how bad the Jurassic Park looks. But
Yep.
the simple fact of the matter is, why don't we have? Just go to
Pick a
IMDb,
Pixar
right?
movie. Yeah, or yeah, that would work too. Should anyway.
And the last really good Spielberg movie he made was Saving Private Ryan. Shocking. That was in the late 90s.
Yes. That's wild to me. But
It
yes.
is wild. But let me see here. Go away. Okay. So this is just give me a
Came out
list of
strong.
them.
Came out strong. First Toy Story. Great movie. Well, I thought that's what we were looking for was a list so we could see what they put out.
Yeah,
So
but I wanted to see it chronologically. But
I think that is,
whatever.
isn't it? Isn't
No,
it?
it's
Wasn't Toy
is
Story the
it?
first one? I
Maybe it
think
is.
so.
Okay, let's take a look here. Yeah, I think you're right. Okay. We had a lot of good fun, a lot of good, fun stuff in here. Monsters Inc. Was really good. The Good Dinosaur, not so much. Finding Dory, that was a sequel. They made a
Existed.
lot of cars. Coco was wonderful.
I
Incredibles
heard that. I
2,
haven't seen it.
super woke. Toy Story 4, super woke. Onward, I never even heard of it. Soul, never even heard of it. Luca, never even heard of it. Turning Red, this is the one about a girl's period. Let's make a whole movie about it. Nice. Lightyear,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely bomb. And then, of
Yep.
course, Leo here. So, man, they have really been on a downward spiral. It's a shame,
Yeah, I'd
dude.
say Wreck-It Ralph is probably the right answer. Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a long time
Yeah.
since they've done anything worth anything, sadly.
Yeah. Six Pack. No, that's right. Maple Sheet, Kenny Rogers in Six Pack. I remember that movie. Um, Megan 2, we were talking about. Dude, look at that. Holy crap.
Woo! Everybody's fired.
You know.
Everybody's fired.
And this isn't a super mega budget movie. But wow, dude. Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, that's crazy, dude. And keep in mind,
not
the
good.
first Megan was a hot little moneymaker, dude.
Yeah, it was a surprise hit.
Lilo and Stitch. It's making money. Uh,
Sadly,
yeah, unfortunately. How's this one doing? Not well enough.
sadly.
And nothing else is really pumping up at all. There's just not a lot for people to watch. But every now and then something will come out and people go back to the theaters in normal numbers. So it's not
Right.
like the audience isn't there. You're just not
No, there's
providing for them.
yeah, giving a shit. Nobody wants to watch it. Like I
Right.
said earlier about the F1 movie, it looks fine, but who was it made for?
Yeah.
Who's the big audience that just needed a movie about F1? I don't understand. I don't understand why it's had to be an F1 film. Why couldn't it, like I said, been NASCAR or whatever? Uh, I don't know. I don't have the answers to these questions. I'm just asking them. I'm just putting them out in the ether.
Yeah.
Chester, just put them out there.
Yeah, yeah. Now, the last F1 movie I remembered was like Sylvester Stallone, wasn't it?
I think he made one, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, that, right back to my
Same.
point. Who was
Yeah.
that made for?
And it didn't do well. And of course,
No.
keep in mind the Sylvester Stallone movie was identical to this one. Older racer, younger racer. Same as this. The old guy long in the tooth, can he still do his greatness? It's the same identical movie. And there's nothing unique about it. That's another issue. Even though it's really well done, there's nothing interesting here, right?
Right.
Where they could have went more into the manufacturing aspect of this team is collapsing and they're trying to get financing, kind of like Moneyball, right? Which is also a Brad
Yep.
Pitt movie, which is an excellent movie, right?
It is.
But and clearly he's playing Michael Shoemaker. I mean, obviously, it's what he's doing, right?
Right.
It is what it is. But nevertheless, that's what I got for you today, dude.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
all, folks.
And it was
Bidee.
interesting. It was fun. There was some good stuff there, and there's some bad stuff there. We had a little bit of a theological conversation in the beginning, which is always fun.
Yep.
Certainly enjoy those. And good news and bad news. I'm really happy, very happy that that jackass David Cohen is not involved with Akira anymore. And
Yes.
Thundero said, not having Warner Brothers involved at all as well. Screw
These are
that,
wins.
dude. If anything, if you have the guys over there in Japan are the ones that get to say yes or no, and you do it with Amazon, it could be good. It could be.
It could be really good. Could be really, really good. But somebody needs to have their hand on the wheel, and
Oh
that
yeah,
somebody needs to not be an American.
yeah,
Sorry, we don't
yeah,
get to control this.
yeah,
We don't get this one.
yeah.
It's
And
too important. Akira is too important to the overall culture
it is.
of in general, but definitely of animated
Well,
films
it's the biggest
for them
anime
to fuck
movie of
this
all
up.
time, plain and simple.
Yeah,
Um, but it needs a sensibility of the Japanese, because a lot of the bad things that happen in that are a a result of the Japanese nature in and of itself,
yep,
right? And an American creative team would not get that at all because we don't think like that.
correct.
They wouldn't
They're
get it.
very different.
Yeah,
Very different.
they would
No,
be
it's
defiant instead of oh, what's the word? Damn it, my brain stopped. Set with their fate.
oh,
Not. Damn it.
um, not my brain. Stop. You're shutting our brains off, Chester.
I don't know what happened. But
Brains
anyway,
both
you
shut
know
off.
what I mean. Resolute.
I do. There you go.
The
That'll work.
opposite of that word.
That'll work.
What is the opposite? My God. Okay, someone needs to be dealt with. Damn it. That's all right. Give me a second. I'll fix it.
He's
Um,
gonna do it. I got faith in him.
hmm. Indecisive.
That'll work.
Hmm. That's not really the one I had in my brain that decided not to come out though. Let me check a
Let's
thesaurus.
see. Chester, you're reading my mind. That's what I was doing.
Tentative.
There you go. Tentative works.
Yeah, I think that's
Yep.
a better one. Tentative or apprehensive. It's probably the one that was in my brain. Anyway, yeah, you need that because it is an important aspect. Even if you don't realize it as a Westerner, when you watch the original Akira, that was happening, and it did affect you, even though it's not how we think.
Right.
Your brain did see it, right?
Yep.
But no, I agree. This is something that should be handled by Japanese with a Western cinematography. That's what you need.
Yes.
Japanese
Which is
thinking, Western
the move.
cinematography. Yeah.
That's what made the One Piece live action work. I really like it. I don't know if you checked it out. It's pretty good.
No, I
Um,
haven't. I was never a big fan of that. My kids might like it.
I'm not a huge fan of One Piece either, but it's because I don't like the art style.
Yeah, I
I don't like
hated
Oda's art style.
it.
I love his story work. I love his characters. I love his lore build, his world building. He might be the best world builder alive, and I'm not even being funny. He's amazing. Um, but that art style just is such a turn off for me.
Yeah, no, I don't
But
like it
since
either.
not in that art style, it's just people, right? Not bad.
Sure.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, people seem to enjoy it, which is awesome. Nevertheless, awesome. We'll see you in next week, of course. Do keep in mind in 2 days, we're having Night Watch, guest appearance from James, who is with the Bones Art team for the creation of that tabletop, is going to be coming and doing a one shot with us, which we appreciate. And if you're interested in seeing how the system runs, come on in for that. It's been a while since I've had an outside one shotter come in. You should come in for that.
I might. I'll
Could
think
be
on it.
fun, dude.
I will
Because
think on it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a very easy system, and it'll be just kind of fun to interact with another person, particularly in regards to this project. We're always very, supportive of indie creators. Bones Art has been here quite a bit with us, and we like him. Of course, Johan Alexander, great artist. But anyway, come back for that. And then, of course,
Do
we
it.
have Drawn and Quartered Ultimate Edition this week as well. Anyway,
Do it.
take us out of here, man.
I'm gonna take us out of here, Chester. I don't know which one I'm gonna pick today. Let's see. Let's see. Let's look at my list of beautiful sayings I have. I like this one. This one reminds me of old Taika David Cohen Watiti. The wicked can pretend to virtue, but the virtuous never will.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I usually ask myself, what would Pizza the Hut do?
He's usually correct.
He is. That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. Later, guys.
Bye.